I call to order this meeting of the Pierce County Charter Review Commission on February the 23rd at 6 p.m. Clerk, can you please call the roll? She needs a mic though. I think we got more mics down here, so I'm sorry that meant less mics up there. All right, Lisa Boyd.
Here.
George Consuelo.
Presente.
Mason Fletcher.
Here.
Kate Ginn. Here. Sharon Haddock. Here. Caleb Heimlich.
Here.
Elizabeth Herrera. Here. Billy Joe Hetherington.
Here.
Jake Hunter.
Here.
Martha Lance. Here. Justin Layton.
Madam Chair, it says WTSA on somebody that's called in. That is Justin Layton. He needs to be promoted to a panelist.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're vouching for him, I got you.
No, you can let him.
We want video.
Tell him we want video.
I'm here. It won't let me turn. There we go. Hi, I'm here. Thank you, Brenda. I will rename myself.
Thanks for the teamwork, everyone. Thank you. Brenda Likens.
Here.
Brenda Molesky.
Here.
Jerome O'Leary.
Here.
Holly Rogie. Here. Rujana Rohrer. Here. Devin Rydell Kelly.
Here.
Troy Surratt.
Here.
Jen Marie Strickling. Here. Judson Willis.
Present.
And Kelsey Behrens. Here. So we have 21 members with us tonight, so we definitely have a quorum. Way to go, us. All right, so first we have some sad news for everyone. Unfortunately, the link that we had to our training is expired. So I need to, if there are no objections, remove the presentation from the agenda. And with that, I would love to move to approve the agenda, unless there are objections to removing something we cannot do.
Do we need to make a motion?
If you would like to, I don't think we have to if there's no objection, but.
It says approval of the agenda. Sorry, Madam Chair. It says approval of the agenda on the agenda, so we should probably do a motion to approve the
I
agenda.
think so too.
I'll make the motion to do exactly what you said there.
We have a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
That's approved. Second, any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstained? All right, so the agenda has been approved as amended. And now we get to do an approval of the minutes. So we have 3 rounds of minutes to approve. So unless there's an objection, I would like to move to approve all 3 at once. So that would be January 21st, January 26th, and February 2nd.
So moved. Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Herrera.
Thank you. I noticed that on the January 26th minutes, my name is not in the roll call and I was in attendance. So I just wanted to let that be known.
Thank you. So for folks who are not me, I think we would just amend the minutes to include Commissioner Herrera.
I make a motion to amend the minutes to have Commissioner Rohrer present on that date.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Wonderful. So all in favor of amending the minutes for January 26th to include Commissioner Herrera in attendance, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Abstained. All right, so the minutes have been approved. Great. So the next item on our agenda is public comment. So I have a little thing that I'm going to read and then we'll jump into public comment. So the Commission believes that public engagement is a crucial component to this charter review process. And to ensure all members of the public can participate in sharing their testimony, I request that side conversations be taken out of the room. This is a little side note, you can hear a lot, so please, if you're gonna chat, take it out into the hall. And that all testimony be directed to me as the chair, and that the audience refrain from clapping or other expressions of agreement or disagreement during public comment, so that all members of the public feel welcome in sharing their testimony. And then as a reminder, the purpose of the Charter Review Commission is to review the charter and propose amendments that will be on the ballot in November for all registered voters of Pierce County to vote for or against. So we are proposing amendments that will then be voted on by the public. All right, so we'll start public comment, and as a reminder, anyone who is going to share something with us verbally tonight, please state your name, and if you know it, what district you're in, or at least the city that you live in. And at first, I would like to invite Rohrer Garcia up to speak. And if, so to the podium, I think there might be a microphone already on the podium for you.
My name is Rohrer Garcia. What I wanted to speak on tonight is the issue with our sheriff, our elected sheriff. I'm a bit hesitant to make it an appointed position before trying something else, in that if he's elected into a position, then he can be removed for just cause, and just cause would mean he didn't follow laws willingly. He violated our trust. And this is what he's verbalizing almost every time he gets in front of a news camera, is that he basically wants to turn Pierce County into Minneapolis. And I don't want that, especially being the only Hispanic person at my place of employment and the only Spanish speaker. So I'm a target, and I know that. And I would like to consider, if it's possible, to have a process where you can remove an elected sheriff rather than turning it into an appointed position. If the appointed position is the only way that you can utilize just cause to remove him, then that's fine. Then that's all we have to work with. But right now, he is a huge liability on our county. All it takes is a few lawsuits of him traumatizing people and trying to be an ICE agent when he's not. Or he did show up on a list, which is something that I would like you to investigate. If he is indeed an ICE agent, when did he go for training? Was he on the clock here and on the clock there? Has he received any compensation from ICE? That's what I want to know, because there's a definite conflict of interest there. We're a sanctuary state, and he swore to uphold sanctuary state laws. And if he's not going to do his job, then he does need to get removed one way or another. I think, I don't know how much authority you have, whether you can actually look into his employment status. But if he is an ICE agent, I think we need to do something about it. He cannot bring back the horrors that are happening in Minnesota here. I don't want him or another ICE agent to shoot me in the face and call me a bitch when I say, I don't have anything against you. I'm pro-law enforcement, because I really am. And right now he's talking about raising taxes in order to pay for, he says, equipment. I don't know if it's for equipment. How do I know if it's for equipment or if it's for enforcing ICE laws?
I'm sorry, I should have said you have 3 minutes for public comment, and we're at the 3 minutes.
We are, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Carla Scott.
Carla Scott, District 5. Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for your devotion to our community. This is the 3rd commission meeting that I have attended, and I wanted to state my concerns. Over the last 25 years, I feel that our state and our country have fallen into a vicious cycle of trying to appease everyone rather than maintaining standards and ethics. Trying to make everyone happy is an impossible task. Letting everyone follow their own choice has led to people destroying themselves and now destroying our cities. Lack of law enforcement has led to more crime, boarded up buildings, chain link fencing around even empty lots, and trash everywhere. We've become a hellscape. We've lost all sense of decency, self-respect, integrity, and accountability. Now we all disobey the laws because everyone else does, so why shouldn't we? If you were raised in a family or raised one yourself, you know that you don't always get your way, no matter how much you whine and cry. Often it is for your own good that you don't get your own way. Our children's education is suffering as every classroom is brought down to the level of the lowest student. Instead of the majority of students setting the example and lifting up the lowest, the majority of students stop trying. What's the point? They might as well just play video games. I contend that now is an excellent time, possibly our last chance, to reclaim our dignity, to rise above the trash and become good citizens again, to stop hating the person that you don't agree with, to unite for America's good. I don't run this country, and neither do you. I voted for what I believe was right, and I stand by my decisions. My point to you is that the majority of people are who you must listen to. You don't get to decide that the majority were wrong in their choice. ICE was created in the aftermath of 9/11. Nearly 3,000 people were killed. Opening our borders for 4 years under Biden and the Democrats created an impossible situation that must be reversed. Let ICE do their job without interference. Millions of people have come to take from the USA. They have no intention of assimilating and following our rules. We can't even provide for our citizens. Now you add, quote, residents, unquote. It's way past time to bring back law and order and common sense. Now is the time to turn this around. ICE is not the enemy. In your wisdom, I hope you will prioritize citizens over illegals. I voted for Sheriff Swank and I voted for President Trump. Both have been duly elected, and yet some think that they can override the people's decision. Please do not be so full of yourself that you believe you are better than the majority of voters. You're not. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Sue Brayton.
Carol Sue Brayton, 5th District. I'm asking for a correction. There was a number of statements made that Schwank only won by 34%. Now, some of you actually ran in office the same time I did in 2024. Schwank won by 50.81% of the vote, over 7,800. Now, of the Pierce County people voted for him. I went to a number of the forums because I had to, because I was running for office. And I went to a number of his forums where others weren't invited. He was upfront, and he also told us that after he won the primary, he hired Cindy and Darren. He was upfront. He was upfront. He was a constitutionalist. He was upfront about other stuff. So I want you to take that all into consideration. I'm a witness. Next, also dealing with ICE. Under the Keep Washington Working Act, if you did not know, Congress is already investigating. It was on C-SPAN, it was on others. You can blame me partially. They had another congressional hearing, and I let some of them know in there that we had this act. They investigated and they requested that Schwank and a number of other state sheriffs all testify before Congress. They all testified before Congress. I watched it on the federal hearings. Now, I think you need to know this. I think it needs to be up front. He had to say what they were doing, and that it violated, he didn't say it, Congress said it violated the Keep Washington Working Act, violates the federal law. Also, with the amendment that was offered and mentioned, the USC 10 refers to USC 8. That's the harboring also of illegal aliens and a number of other things under USC 8. That's United States Code for immigration. So Schwank is required and mandated under federal law, so are the others, to uphold both federal and state law. He's protecting his own sheriff's deputies from getting in trouble with the federal government. And yes, I had cartels running from me down just half a mile from my place, 2 to 4 times a week. Thank God that we have what we had, because they had 2 big gangs that were broken up. Pierce County sheriffs were involved, Fife was involved, Seattle was involved, others were involved. Who was the lead agency? ICE. Is Schwank an ICE person? No. But he's complying to and with those things to collaborate to get the gang. So I just want to let you know what's going on. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Next is Grant Plesky.
Well, Madam Chair and members of the commission, Grant Plesky, District 3. I have been a resident of Pierce County since 9 months before I was born. I served on both the 2006 and the 2016 Charter Review Commission. And I want to thank the commission for hosting last week Michael Sullivan and Bob Mack. The 3 of us just had a time out in the hallway dropping names and comparing notes. And they had so little time to talk about so much history, so I thought I'd take my time to kind of fill in some of the gaps about the sheriff. In 1981, when this charter was adopted, Pierce County became the only county in Washington state to have and one of only a handful of jurisdictions around the entire country that had an unelected sheriff. Then in 2003, what dominated the news cycle in this county was a guy named David Brame. David Brame represented the unelected sheriff model. He was the chief of police for Tacoma Sheriff. And David Brame, as you probably know, murdered his wife and then shot himself in the Gig Harbor parking lot. And here's the fascinating story. Or fascinating part of that story. Bill Barsima, mayor of Tacoma, Ray Corpus, city manager, all the city council and all the police force knew of the domestic abuse and allegations of rape among David Brame. And so that story was repeated over and over again in public testimony before our 2006 commission. And responding to that public comment, we put that issue along with 8 others on the ballot, and all 9 of the measures passed. So that's when we got our elected sheriff. And then Paul Pasteur ran for sheriff that year. Paul did a great job. He was reelected and reelected until he was term limited out. And then in, let me see, it was 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, the Democrats on the Pierce County Council tried to get that measure on the ballot again to make an unappointed sheriff, and the Republicans blocked it. And so that's where we are now. I would just advocate that we avoid making the sheriff a partisan political football. I think the real solution is to lower the initiative requirement here in this county. Right now, there's never been an initiative because the bar is just too high for anyone to leap over. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Laura Shelton?
Hello, my name is Laura Shelton. I'm from District 2. I support appointing the sheriff rather than electing the sheriff. Thank you for hearing my perspective today. I want to acknowledge that change is hard. That a lot has happened in our history, and Washington has never been afraid of making adjustments when change becomes necessary. We're not afraid of trying new things. That's why I love living here. As an HR professional, I care about skills match, qualifications, and performance management. Running an election as you know, can take very different skills than being sheriff. Concerningly different skills, I think we can all see that. Elections require popularity, fundraising, charisma. Sheriff's office requires judgment, ethics, operational experience, and strong leadership under pressure. Right now, almost anyone can run. We need minimum qualifications. I'm in favor of appointing with strong qualifications, with a solid election interview, minimum qualifications. Just because we changed something to something we did before doesn't mean we have to make the same mistakes. We can do it better. We can learn from our mistakes and improve. Appointing us lets us set the standards, lets us have real-time performance management. These are things we see every day in HR. I don't know why we wouldn't want to apply them to our structures as well. We want to be able to vet candidates, select based on competence. We definitely don't want it to be political partisan. We don't want it to be cronies picking each other, and there are steps we can take to prevent that, right? We're working on it now. Thank you for your service. Performance management, accountability is stronger. Public safety is so important. We need to be able to give that real-time feedback. Public safety, leadership should be based on qualifications and performance, not politics, not campaigning. So therefore, appointment with accountability, qualifications, and structure is the most responsible system.
Thank you. David Rose.
Good evening, my name is David Rose. I am a resident of Tacoma, District 4. I want to start off by thanking my commissioner, Governor Kelly, for his wisdom in understanding the fundamental flaw in the section of the charter to which his amendment that we'll be discussing today pertains to. At face value, I know cooperation and collaboration seem like aspirational things we should work toward. If you look down the road a little bit and think through it, it's easy to understand that what that section gives us is a blank check and a mandate to collaborate and cooperate with just about any and every intergovernmental cooperation opportunity that comes our way. I think that's just irresponsible governance. Basically, if our theoretically neighbors in King County or Thurston County or the state government or the federal government lose their minds and decide to invite us into the insanity, we are currently basically obligated by our charter to engage in that and to allocate resources and tax dollars to those efforts as well. I know we've spoken a lot so far about democracy and things being undemocratic. I think it's pretty clear that subjecting the people of Pierce County to the whims of governments that they did not elect directly and to efforts that they don't agree with and didn't vote for is profoundly undemocratic. You will also, I'm sure, speak extensively about fiscal responsibility and subjecting our tax dollars to efforts that the people of Pierce County do not agree with is profoundly fiscally irresponsible. Subjecting our tax dollars and our resources to efforts that are squarely outside of Pierce County government's swim lane is extremely fiscally irresponsible. And there is no sane universe in which a county should be allocating its resources to do the job of the federal government, under which immigration enforcement falls. That is the job of the federal government. And that is to say nothing of the tactics that we have seen exercised by federal immigration enforcement in this current wave of effort. We have agents of the federal government coming into our communities, kidnapping children out of their school buses off the street, using them as bait to lure their families, parents, siblings, grandparents, neighbors out of their homes so they can apprehend them too, tearing our communities apart, taking entire households out of neighborhoods and streets, out of their jobs, out of their communities, where they contribute to our lives and our communal well-being. That is reprehensible. Frankly, as far as I'm concerned, if they live in Pierce County, whether they're a citizen or a resident or otherwise, if they live here, they are my neighbor and I care about them and I love them as a human being. I do not think that is too much of me to ask of my county government to treat everyone who lives in this jurisdiction as a human being and give them a basic standard of dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Jeff Winter.
Jeff Winter, I'm in the 5th District.
Can you please hold it up just a little there? Thank you.
Jeff Winter, the 5th District. I have to apologize, I didn't come prepared. I have my dog in my car, because I have dog sitting, so I'm gonna have to leave shortly after this, but I just wanted to let you know, I was down in Olympia today, because they're discussing the Senate bill 15, I get the numbers mixed up, but, you know, the sheriff's bill. And as a witness, I just want to say that my concern is this. There seems to be an attack on the office of sheriff from all fronts. We have the state trying to regulate, rein in the control of the sheriff, and now we have Pierce County wanting to take away from the elected position. And what I'm seeing is a lot of people, they're guided by their feelings and emotions and not the rule of law. The Washington State Constitution is what is to govern this state. The United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. We all know, and keep in mind, I have a high school graduation. I wasn't trained in the Constitution, but because I see the troubles in our country, I'm being moved to study and learn. We all know that in the 3 branches of government, there's separate powers. But what we don't understand is that there's a separation of powers between Article 1 and Article 2 of the Washington State Constitution. There's a reason why in Article 1 it's a Declaration of Rights. The legislature is forbidden making laws and acts that infringe on the rights of the people. I could tell you, I don't have it with me, and I think I read it last week about the definition of constitutional rights. And I want to remind you, back in 1966, Miranda versus Arizona, where rights are declared, let me read it, I think I have it down here. In 1966, Miranda versus Arizona, the United Supreme Court declared where rights secured in the Constitution are involved, there shall be no rulemaking or legislation which would abrogate them. It's very clear that the United States Supreme Court sees that our declared rights are to be protected. So the question isn't, the question about the sheriff is whether or not it's declared in the Constitution that it's an elected position. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Matthew Karas. I'm sorry, I probably said your last name wrong.
No, you're
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
You're okay.
All right, well, so, I just want to start off by saying I do support in appointing the sheriff at this instance. I also want to give some time for some perspective. I'm not here today to give you a lot of stories or to solely spend my time bad-mouthing or talking about other groups. But what I am going to talk today is about people power and what it means to embrace and love our community. So I'm part of a group called Pierce County Immigration Alliance. And part of the reason why I joined was my mother and my father, they were both immigrants. So my mother came to America in the 1970s on a boat. And my father, he came from Austria, after refuge, after World War II. If it weren't for America, my existence might not even be possible. I probably wouldn't be standing and talking to you today. So I just want to say that both my parents and my grandparents dedicated their lives to becoming citizens. My grandpa was in his late 70s before he became a citizen in the United States. And, so it took him about over 35 years. And we're talking about the 1970s. So, I also want to talk about Keith Swank, and the rhetoric that he has online, makes it seem like it's okay to attack, our immigrant community. It's okay to attack our community who thinks differently than we do. And I wonder, where was it in the rule of land that was acceptable, or that was a prerequisite, so to speak. So I just want to talk about, how language could be harmful in the community, and also how it could lead to other people to start acting violently or start acting on their own, and to start saying things and doing things that might not be, really reflective of them, but also could really bring real harm to the community. So what I'm asking for is, for every action, there's a reaction. And for every action, there's also a consequence. So is Keith Swank just going to places, talking and giving stories, is that really giving accountability? Or do we need to say, hey, we need to take a step back and say this is not appropriate, and we need someone else to take leadership right now? As leaders,
I'm sorry,
sometimes it's
that's
hard to think about.
3 minutes. Thank you. Mary Chris?
Good evening, Madam Chair and our fellow commissioners in this room. Thank you so much for your service and what you're doing for our community. My name is Mary Chris Castro, and I'm speaking tonight as a volunteer member, as someone who works closely with immigrant and refugee families here in Pierce County, who's also a proud daughter of immigrants. First, I want to express my sincere gratitude for all of you for taking this time again and engaging very thoughtfully on this very sensitive issue. I especially appreciate the proposed revisions to sections 1.22, which clarify the county's role in intergovernmental cooperation while grounding it in constitutional structure and local responsibility. At its core, this language reflects an important truth. Immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility, and Pierce County resources should be prioritized for local public safety, public health, and essential community services. This is not about refusing cooperation, it is about good governance, clear jurisdiction, and ensuring that limited county funds, personnel, facilities, and data are used to meet the needs of our residents, except where cooperation is expressly required by law. As a Filipino American, I want to share some values that guide many of us in this community and in the work we do. In Filipino culture, we hold deeply in the principle of bayanihan, the idea that we carry one another through shared responsibility. We also believe in kapwa, our shared humanity, that the well-being of one is tied to the well-being of all. And we practice malasakit compassion that shows up not just in words, but in how institutions care for people in real, practical ways. When county government is clear about its priorities, it strengthens trust, it ensures families feel safe accessing services, reporting crimes, taking their children to school, or seeking medical help without fear that local resources are being used in ways that undermine community well-being. This revision helps Pierce County remain focused on what local government does best, serving residents, protecting public safety, and upholding constitutional boundaries. I strongly support this language, and I encourage the Commission to adopt it as balanced, principled, and forward-looking statement of county policy. Pierce County is strongest when we lead with clarity, compassion, and community. And this revision by Devin Rydell Kelly, supported by Jake and Kate, it reflects that. And thank you for your time and thank you for your service, because this is a very scary time for our communities. And the youth are looking at you and what you're doing and how you discuss and conduct your business. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Ken Paulson?
I'm Paulson. I live in Tacoma. So I think I need to put a sentence in here about when I used the word appointed flunky last week. So in Tacoma, just to go over this, about 5 years ago, my neighbor said, that house over there is a house that sells drugs. I didn't like that. So I did stuff. Talked to a policeman at a fire department thing. Talked to at a mayor thing. Waved down a policeman in the middle of the street. And he said, oh, well then that's the 4th drug house in the neighborhood. And then I went and said, okay, I'm gonna go to the police chief. I'll find him at a city council meeting. He didn't care about any address. I was shut down in a few sentences. So I know there's been several police chiefs, and I don't know which one it was anymore, but all I can think of is they've been told, this is what you're doing and you're not doing that. Why wouldn't they want to get rid of a drug house when Tacoma has drugged up pedestrians walking right next to the road, especially 5 years ago? So, appointed flunky, what I termed. So now, let's say this passes. Portland Police Chief qualifies. We could have Portland and Pierce County. Woo! Wouldn't that be great? So it seems to me that, I'll just say it, the world is turning stupider every year. New York is swirling around the toilet. Anybody who can is leaving. They're just gonna have a 3rd world country, 3rd world city. Seattle, elected a communist. It'd be slower, but they're leaving there too. So is the purpose of this to get somebody to do what some other elected official wants them to do and not follow the law? That's what I think the purpose is. So if you don't like the law, go change it that says all the illegals that came over are not illegal. All the murderers that snuck in, we don't care about that. Or the rapists, or the pedos, or the traffickers, or the...
Thank you very much for sharing. All right, that is the end of public comment that folks signed up for in the room.
Madam Chairman, this is my first meeting, I wasn't aware of the process. Do we have the opportunity to speak ad hoc?
Absolutely, yes. So last person in the room, then we'll go online.
Thank you. My name is Scott Berry. I live in District 5. I don't have anything prepared here, but I've studied the Constitution, and our sheriff, our elected sheriff, is our last line of defense against unconstitutional laws. And there are many unconstitutional laws that have been aggregating for the last 30 or 40 years. The easiest one to pick out is the Second Amendment. There is complete disdain and ignorance of the Second Amendment. Our state constitution also protects those rights. And this is just one example. This isn't a pro-gun speech or anything like that. But we have a lot of unconstitutional laws. And our elected sheriff is our last bastion of safety for the public to protect against that. COVID was a great example of that when they tried to shut down the churches. You know, we're shutting down mom and pop grocery store here, but Costco can be open because you can get COVID in a small store, but not in Costco. God knows how they came up with that. But those type of, that was a policy at the time, not necessarily a law. But your sheriff is the one who can step and say, wait a minute, this law that our legislators passed is unconstitutional, and you do not have to follow it. My deputies will not prosecute you for breaking this unconstitutional law. That's super important, okay? Along with the discussion I've heard earlier, I agree with the appointed flunky comment. When you have an appointed individual, that is highly partisan, especially in this state when everything is super majority Democrat. How can it not be political? At least with an election, we've got an opportunity for the populace to speak and find out where is the true majority? What do they think, okay? And if that just so happens to be a bias one way or bias the other, that so be it. That's what our elections do for us. Because if you believe in democracy, elections are a key thing. appointing people is not democratic at all. It's autocratic. And I don't go along with that. My second point has to do with enforcement of laws. So we live in a federal republic. We do not live in a democracy, by the way. The United States is a federal republic. The federal republic is based on laws. If we allow people to choose which laws they wish to follow and which laws they do not wish to follow, then you cannot be surprised if they choose to disobey the law or interfere with law enforcement, that there is going to be trouble. The pandemonium that we are seeing across the nation appears to be coming from the antagonists attacking the ICE officers. President Obama deported more people than any other president. No one said a word about that. They let all those deportations go. Suddenly, when Trump is in office, there's a mobilization of people threatening these ICE officers. You can understand their apprehension because they're getting death threats all the time. I would be particularly nervous if I were an ICE officer. So I just want to point out that we do not, well, we have the choice of obeying laws or not, but once we disobey the law, we're criminals. Thank you.
Thank you. That is it for public comment in the room. We'll now move on to folks on Zoom.
Yes, Madam Chair. For any members of the public who wish to provide comment, press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. It looks like we have about 5 hands at this time. 6. First hand is going to be Jonathan Pottle. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Pottle. I live in County District 7. I'm speaking tonight in support of the proposed charter amendment currently designated C-2 regarding intergovernmental cooperation brought by Commissioner Devin Rydell-Kelly. You can tell a lot about a society by how it treats its vulnerable members. I want to live in a Pierce County that protects those who need it. I think a good government provides aid and care to the poor and needy. I was raised that way by some very kind people. Those are the kinds of values that we should lead with in structuring the government of our county. That's what the people's money should be spent on in Pierce County, not aiding in federal immigration enforcement that amounts to brutal oppression. We know that various government entities and officials, from our own sheriff up to the United States president, are doing everything they can to skirt, circumvent, and outright break laws, such as the Keep Washington Working Act. I'm not interested in supporting, with things like my tax dollars, the oppression of my neighbors. We need to erect every possible barrier to cooperating with inhuman immigration enforcement and institute every possible penalty for breaching those barriers. This proposed amendment is not a cure-all, but it is an important step in stating who we are in Pierce County and that we value our neighbors, the overwhelmingly good people in our community, regardless of where they have lived before or how much wealth they have. Commissioner Kelly's amendment is a good one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, Madam Chair, we have Sean Hart. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, this is Sean Ahrens. I'm a resident of Tacoma, and I currently serve as the co-chair of the Tacoma and Pierce County Democratic Socialists of America. I'm speaking in support of Amendment C2. I hear people talk about wanting to protect democracy here, while disenfranchising people who live and work in our community and pay taxes and have no representation, and today, no legal protection against masked agents deporting them in the street. Sheriff is a self-selecting office, and today what we have is a sheriff who cares more about running for political office and running to be the next host of a Fox News channel show than a sheriff who cares about serving his community. ICE is a $400 billion agency today. They do not need our public dollars to help enforce their raids. This is clearly in alignment with state law. And frankly, like, I'm sickened by the people who have spoken against us today. People who claim to love this Constitution and believe in this Constitution, choosing to manipulate that towards scapegoating their neighbors. Because the people that are really fucking us all over are the billionaires. So if you care about the Constitution, you should care about billionaires buying elections. Where does it say you can do that in there? You shouldn't take this bait and allow the billionaire class to scapegoat our neighbors who are fleeing for their lives in many cases, coming here, working hard. You should remember who the true enemy is. And that is the wealthiest people in this country, the Epstein class, who are screwing us all over. We need to respond to the conditions of today, and the conditions of today call for an accountable sheriff's office that does not cooperate with ICE. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Madam Chair, we have Latanya Bailey. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, Latanya Bailey. I'm a Puyallup resident. Yes, I'm here tonight, and good evening, commissioners and public. I'd like to provide public support for Commissioner Kelly's proposed amendment as well in section 1.2 in the charter labeled C-2. Pardon me. A couple of things that I would like to start out, especially after listening to some of the comments here tonight, of the collaboration, with ICE, as our Pierce County Sheriff seems to be inclined to do, is a violation of separation of powers of the federal government. And to expect local government municipalities to spend our tax dollars in performing, explicit federal functions, absolutely outrageous. Not to mention the reports coming out through Congress has had several shadow hearings, even just today, of the deplorable conditions in what are now concentration camps back in America. Reports of bounty hunters posing as ICE, data farming our personal data, including our voter rolls, ridiculous restrictions on our voting, physical and sexual abuse, and not to mention murders in broad daylight. And the fact that the Pierce County Sheriff, that, I don't think it's really appropriate that I and many others in this room and everywhere else seem to know the sheriff's political leanings. So I don't have much confidence, as many others that I know have a vote of no confidence in this sheriff, Keith Swink. And I don't feel that he could be impartial when we might need him to support folks who might be being judged for the way they look, that the way that they talk. Okay. And I guess in closing, that I want our government, in particular Pierce County, to be using our powers, intergovernmental cooperation to support our community, do everything that we can to support the most vulnerable of our neighbors. Okay. No human is illegal, right? If they live here, they're part of their community, they are paying taxes as well, right? So I just, want folks to really take to heart and know that we've had many sheriffs in Washington State. And for some reason, this sheriff in particular seems to be getting not only national attention, but creating quite a bit of ire in our communities because of his impartiality and his personal political leanings and ambitions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Madam Chair, we have Bob Corris. Please stand up for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Robert Corris. I live in District 5. First, I'd like to correct some misinformation that was stated earlier when a person claimed that federal law required the sheriff to cooperate in immigration enforcement. 8 USC 1252C says that to the extent permitted by relevant state and local law, state and local law enforcement officials are authorized. So they're authorized, they're not required, but that still doesn't matter because state law does not permit that cooperation. Now, I oppose the cooperation of our sheriff with ICE in that I pay local taxes that I expect to be used for local law enforcement, not subsidizing federal civil actions, not criminal, civil actions. That's what this is really all about. Now, it's important that people first trust law enforcement if they're going to cooperate in solving and preventing crime. Using the sheriff's department to go after immigrant communities is going to increase, not decrease crime, because people aren't going to be willing to cooperate and talk to law enforcement. So I support Amendment C2 to keep us building our communities, keeping our law enforcement dealing with local law enforcement issues, not federal.
Thank you.
Next, we have John Limbo. Please stand for the record. You have 3 minutes.
My name is John Limbo, Pierce County resident, District 3. I rise opposed to the amendment to Article 3, Section 3.70. I absolutely agree that the sheriff must be qualified, experienced, and professional, but I strongly disagree with turning this office from an elected position into an appointed one. Pierce County voters fought to make this position chosen directly by the people. Democratic values start with a simple idea: power should flow from the bottom up, not the top down. We believe in a government that is accountable, transparent, and rooted in the consent of the governed. When you make the sheriff an appointed county executive by the county executive, confirmed by the council, you take away the power from the everyday voters and centralize it in the hands of the few. That might look efficient on paper, but it weakens real democracy in practice. Yes, we can and should expect high professional standards. We can require law enforcement certification, years of experience, strong leadership skills, but those qualifications should work alongside democracy, not replace it. Voters are fully capable of weighing resumes, records, and values when they cast a ballot. The answer to concern about accountability isn't less voting, it's better oversight. That is why I'm in support of establishing an independent public review committee to serve as community watchdogs over the sheriff's office. This committee, made up of residents, community leaders, civil advocates, and legal experts, could review policies, training, use of force, and patterns of complaints, and then report transparently to the public. That structure reflects the democratic principles shared by civilian oversight and meaningful community voice and public safety. Our democratic vision for Pierce County isn't one where institutions are both competent and democratic, where professional qualifications are strong. The ultimate hire manager is still the people. An appointed sheriff, no matter how experienced, will always be more insulated from voters than an elected one who must stand before the public and earn their trust for years. That is why let's move forward by keeping the sheriff qualified, elected, and subject to robust public oversight. That is what two democratic values look like: fairness, transparency, and a government that remains of the people, by the people, for the people. Let's concentrate on the position, not the person. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Teresa Evans. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, thank you. I'm Teresa Evans. I'm in District 5 in Pierce County in Tacoma. And I wanted to let this committee or commission know that I'm interested in the amendments that are being presented or suggested, and that I came here because I saw that reference to C2 specifically through Devin Wright and Kelly, and then I know a couple of the people who are on your commission. So I'm watching, and I want things to be well for our community. I'll make a comment when I can. Specifically, reading these this information, keeping track of it is difficult because people's behaviors around me change. So I have to manage how the behaviors change around me before I feel confident in making comment. And I want to be well as well. And I'll yield my time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
And lastly, Madam Chair, we have Sarah. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes. So, yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Maybe we can move on to the next and come back to Sarah.
Next, we have Renee. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi there, my name is Renee Cornoyer and I live in Pierce County. And I'm actually from Minnesota, and I get a feedback from Minnesota all the time. Those people have been under siege for 79 days now. Trump pardoned the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and the folks that signed up to be the ICE agents. When they were first indicted after January 6th, they were in their psychiatric review said that they were criminally insane. Now they're ICE agents. I am going to assume that every ICE agent is criminally insane. The behaviors that we're hearing from Minnesota and all around this country are devastating and terrifying. Inhumanity is just rampant. I don't understand how anyone can hate another person. I don't get it. You know, there but for the grace of God go I. You know, I don't understand. I don't understand. I had an Uncle Henry in an Auschwitz concentration camp. He told me all about it. He was a prisoner of war there. We've got containers here in Seattle full of people that are being loaded onto shipping docks. You can hear them screaming from the containers. There's no air. There's no warmth. It's the modern day slave ships. I don't understand how anyone could back ICE agents or back any of this criminal activity. I don't trust at all the police or the sheriff. If this is going to be part of Tacoma, Tacoma is a sanctuary city. We're not supposed to have this stuff going on here. And if there's any question whether ICE is going to come here or not, how are we ever going to be safe? Any of us. You know, there but for the grace of God go all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, it looks like we have Sarah's iPhone. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Sarah Waterman. I live in District 2. I am in support of amending the county policy to limit cooperation between local police and ICE to help ensure that local law enforcement focuses on its primary responsibility, which would be protecting community safety. When local police are perceived as immigration enforcers, immigrant residents, regardless of their status, may become reluctant to report crimes such as serving as witnesses or seeking help, which undermines public safety for everyone. There's also serious concerns, as Renee was sharing, about due process and immigration enforcement. Individuals can be detained for extended periods of time while navigating complex civil immigration proceedings, often without guaranteed legal representation. When local jurisdictions assist in these processes, they risk contributing to situations where constitutional protections and procedural fairness may be weakened. Additionally, Documented reports and legal challenges have raised concerns about inhumane conditions in some immigration detention centers, including overcrowding, inadequate medical care, and prolonged detention. Counties should carefully consider whether local resources should be used to funnel residents into systems where such conditions have been alleged. By separating local policing from federal immigration enforcement, counties can strengthen community trust, uphold civil liberties, and ensure that limited local resources are directed toward preventing and solving serious crimes rather than supporting federal civil enforcement actions. Overall, I'm just very concerned about the process which ICE is using, and the witnesses that have shared their stories from Minnesota, the conditions they're being held in office buildings where they're not intended as prisons and there's not medical facilities available for them. This is a public health threat to the entirety of our county and a grave concern. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And at this time, I see no other hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. It looks like that concludes public comment for the evening. I did miss earlier our clerk's report for any written public comment. My apologies. I got so excited to read my statement. I just went right on past.
So prior to tonight's meeting, you received 5 written public comments, which have been distributed through the meeting packet materials.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hetherington. You did such a great job of helping make sure things get where they need to go. I deeply appreciate you.
I'm a late.
All right, so next I have a few updates for you all. So it's updates from the chair. So we're on the agenda. So just a update. We have officially sent out invites to different county officials and department heads. We actually have 4 scheduled already to come and present to us. So we have 2 council members as well as the auditor and the sheriff all lined up for Mondays coming forward. So our first council member will be Councilmember Morrell, and he'll be with us next week. So you'll start to see those different presentations show up on our agenda. Each person has been given a time frame of 30 minutes to present and ask and answer questions. So that's our plan. If you have different thoughts or feedback, let me know, but that's what people have been told already. So hopefully everyone's good with that. All right, next, we do have a couple of documents, the workflow and draft rules of engagement that still need a little bit of time, just need some revision. So you should see those next week. I believe Vice Chair will be decided. And then did want to do an update if Commissioner Ginn would like to share anything about the FAQ collaboration.
Sure, Commissioner Ginn, the FAQ should be in the packet as well for next week on March 2nd.
Thank you so much to the group that's working on that. I think it's going to be really helpful for members of the public to get a little bit more information about what we're doing, why we're doing the things, and just be more engaged. So thank you. Next is just some stuff about in-districts. So I know that folks are really focused on listening sessions right now, which is wonderful, but we really need to start getting in-districts scheduled because we are, I think, as the end of this meeting, officially 1/3 of the way through our commission. Oh. Yikes. Wow. So it would be really good to start getting those dates on the books, especially because our wonderful county staff is going to have some work to do to help us get those set up. So if you have identified a location, please get whoever's kind of in charge of the IT tech stuff in connection with our amazing county staff so we can verify that what they have on site is what is needed for such a meeting. Commissioner Likens.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Commissioner Likens. Did we decide if we're doing those on the regular Mondays? Or because it looked like there was a double later in the week, But are we doing those over 2 months then, because there's 7 districts?
Yes, so we'll start on our regular meetings, April 13th will be the first in district.
Okay.
And there is one Wednesday in there because there's Memorial Day as a Monday holiday. So that might be where the confusion is.
Terrific, thank you.
Of course, thank you for asking. Which was my next point. We'll start week of April 13th. So as far as I know, no district has secured a date yet, so they're all up for grabs currently. And I bet it'll be kind of a first come, first served basis. So if you have a date and a place, let's talk about it. Commissioner or Vice Chair, let's.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, we have an updated version of the timeline that we had looked at closer to the beginning. I don't know if it's a good time to pull it up. It's not, we'll get it in your packets next week, but I sent it to Jair. You don't have it? Okay, well, so actually that was my question, and we wanted to look at a couple other things online. So I can log in to the meeting and you can make me a presenter. Could you do that, or what's the easiest way to do it?
Wait, you have it in right now? Are you on the meeting?
No, but I could be in a minute if we talk about something else for like a minute.
You emailed to me?
I did, yeah,
Today?
just now. Or not
So I can pull it up.
Okay,
You can keep talking, just
all
don't
right,
pay attention.
hold on, we'll talk in a minute, sorry.
All right, so maybe we can move on to our legal report on pending request and analysis or advice, if there's anything. Oh, Commissioner Surratt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Surratt, District 5. We have identified 2 locations that we're considering for District 5 and District meeting. One of those I'm still discussing with regards to daily rates. They're willing to offer us a discounted rate for their facility for a public meeting. And I haven't gotten any information about what that discounted rate might be. But I do want to confirm that we can enter negotiation with regards to these rates or make date choices ourselves, or should we punt that to you once we get this information and these dates and facilities, not dates, but facilities locked down? Forgive me.
That's a great question. I think that it would make sense because I don't want my own capacity to respond to things to be a barrier to moving some of this forward. So I would say actually maybe, and I'm gonna look up to the county staff table up there to see if they're okay with us kind of sending forward location ideas to you all and to be able to talk about rates, because I can't imagine it's gonna be us commissioners who are writing any checks.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a nod and a thumbs up. So I would say work with our county staff to get those secured.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And I was seeing no legal update, head shaking, wonderful. So I'm wondering if we were ready. Oh, Commissioner Rohrer.
I have that document pulled up.
There's actually 2 documents.
Oh.
So this isn't a legal question, but just a point of personal privilege. District 6 commissioners, we held a meet and greet in Steilacoom at the community library. And so, and we also went to State Representative Mari Levitt's town hall. And we had about 14 people in attendance, had a lot of good engagement. Any takeaways that you'd like to share? And I know that we also had expenses too. And so we look forward to hearing more information on how people can get reimbursed. But
other commissioners, would you like to share any reflections? And we do have a spot for that later on the agenda. You all can't see it. It's on my little scripted notes. So just know that's the last thing on my chair's report, but thank you for bringing it up now and we'll just talk about it now.
Got to hand up online.
Oh, yeah. Well, Commissioner O'Leary.
Thank you. And I don't know if this is the right spot. So if it isn't, please just let me know and I'll wait. But as we enter into discussion about the given amendments, if another commissioner has a question of the presenter or the presenter's amendment, and obviously that needs to be directed to the chair. But in our last meeting, we moved from question to question to question without giving the presenter the opportunity to respond to the individual questions as they came about. And I think that creates somewhat of a complication for the presenter. And it also, I don't think it really helps the body as a whole, because if we hear these answers as they're asked, it could impact the next question. And so I just would like to ask, is there a different method that we could consider using so that we can address questions as they're asked? Obviously, we would go through the chair to do that. But I think it really would be more effective as we proceed through these questions and hopefully get some dialogue regarding the specifics of these amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Leary. So some of my inquiry might be worth a motion at some point to kind of set up our rules of how we're going to work with each other. So thank you for that. I'm wondering if we can come back to just the report out from the listening session, and then if somebody would like to make that motion, or maybe we just need consensus around that. I'll go after you. Oh, Vice Chair Lenz.
I think to Commissioner O'Leary's point, we did discuss after the last meeting that questions to presenters did not have to wait in line and get jumped back to be behind others who wanted to actually comment. So I think to that point, if people have an actual question seeking clarification, seeking, some additional information, as opposed to engaging in a substantive debate, that the presenter should be able to take those questions and then we retreat back to the order of the speakers. So I don't think we need a motion for that. We'll try to recognize, but there might be a little overlap between questioning and debating that is to the chair's discretion to put you to the back of the line or allow you to go in the front.
I'm just gonna ask for, make sure, look around. Do we have consensus that that is an appropriate use of our time to be able to, if you have a question, give the person who proposed the amendment the opportunity to ask that before we continue with discussion? Seeing a lot of head nods, great. I'm gonna assume that there's no opposition to that then. Wonderful. All right, back to district listening session. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
Commissioner Boyd, I just wanted to share that we came in with questions and answers, frequently asked questions and answers. So we had a few handouts to give a little bit of advice of what to bring. And they were very helpful because most of the questions were brought up and we had those in writing. I think that people had a really good opportunity to share, very much like public comments, but with questions directly to us. I think they learned a lot about the process. We also brought in with us where we are in the process right now, and so kind of updating them. We've had this many meetings. This is what we've been focusing our time on. And from that, we also got requests from other groups in our area to come and speak to their particular meetings and to hand out things. So I think it was a good opportunity to get them involved and for them to learn a little bit more about what we are doing and what we are not able to do. And so it was in the middle of a rainy Saturday at 1 o'clock in the middle of the day, having 14 people sitting in there felt kind of good. So we'll see. It was a start.
Commissioner Consarla.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my fellow commissioners in District 6. I think it was a great example of what we seek to do. All of the members were very appreciative to get that extra time and to be able to meet in community. So I'm super excited for the rest of the districts to have their in-district listening sessions if you're able to. It really does make a meaningful impact, and they seem to be interested in coming to the next one that we have. What was I gonna say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought, but it's going good. It's going good. Oh, probably need a sign-up sheet. Not that it's required, but I think that's like the one thing that we, as advice to the rest, is having a sign-up sheet. We let them know that we have our website and that's how they can reach out to us. But if they want a more kind of direct method of communication, that might be beneficial too.
Wonderful. Yes, Commissioner Rohrer.
So Commissioner Rohrer, I kind of had two takeaways from that event. It was really wonderful to sit beside you guys and to talk to community members. We scheduled it for an hour. Honestly, was not enough time. At all. We could have gone an hour and a half too, but definitely, I would just maybe recommend an hour and a half, just to allow for ample discussion. And then you can follow up. The other thing was people really, they learned about the process. They learned about the Charter Review Commission. They really wanted to know what were the amendments. I hope that we might be able to get that. I know I mentioned this before, a page that has the amendments that they can, here are the amendments, they can click on it, see what it's about, what the language is, and they could go to any amendment and see that. When we started talking about specific amendments in reading language, I don't know how to explain it, but they were absolutely, we want to know more. They were like, because you cannot in detail go over all those different amendments, but if they can go to a website page and say, okay, and have it explained, maybe, the summary, but then the amendment. So I'm hopeful we can see that because I think it will be beneficial to the public.
And we're more than happy to share.
I'm sorry. The microphone, thanks.
I'm sorry, I just started yelling out. I'm sorry, Madam
It's
Chair.
okay.
I did want to say, we're more than happy to share any of those handouts if you're getting ready for your listening session. I know we have them on our computers and we can share to your emails too. Take what you want and fix it up the way that you want to present it, okay?
Thank you so much. And thank you for being the first to get that to happen so that we can all learn from the things that you all did. I think, like you said, being in community, hearing from folks is incredibly important, especially meeting them where they are. So we really appreciate it. I know we have additional listening sessions that are even already up on the calendar, so that'll be wonderful. All right, so I think the documents are ready to look at, is that correct? Oh, sorry, budget pieces. So for reimbursement, I would say connect with county staff right now. I'm sorry, I'm looking up at the table.
I will find out if there's like a particular form that we can send to everybody, so you have that for your request for reimbursement on those things. And then on the budget generally, I have requested that information, have not received it, but we'll try to get that by next week for you.
Thank you so much. Okay, sorry. Now for real this time, if we can look at the documents online, I'm gonna turn it over to Vice Chair Lentz because I think she had specific things.
Okay, so sorry, Chair. The not the Excel document, but the Word document. That is under the topic of scheduling, which is where we are under communications and scheduling updates. So this is a document that we looked at kind of in the beginning to sort of try to sketch out sort of where we were going. And as the chair mentioned, we are barreling along. So I wanted to just take a look at this. We've sketched out sort of the broad general topics of where we need to be to get ourselves through the whole charter. So now we're on February 23rd. We're still talking about the preamble and Article 1. We need to start intaking proposals related to the legislative branch, Article 2, if people have those. I know we've foreshadowed that we're going to talk about at least one thing in Article 3, but if people have other takes on other things in Article 3, now's the time to keep them coming. Again, this is pretty high level, but the intent is to kind of keep on it. So our substantive discussion tracks generally the chronology of the charter so we can keep like topics together. And if there's multiple proposals sort of centering around the same or similar topics, people will know that and we won't be attacking things piecemeal. So as the chair mentioned, next week, we're going to, well, the week of March 9th, the sheriff is going to come and speak to us. So that will sort of be the precursor to, I think, beginning more substantive debate around things in Article 3, particularly those that reference the sheriff's department and the sheriff's office. The auditor is coming to talk to us, so if we have questions or considerations of Article 4 elections, that would be after that, later in March. Heading toward having county staff come, members of the executive department, the finance department, the HR department, as we get towards Article 6 and Article 7, finance and personnel, and kind of wrapping up toward the end. If you can scooch up that document a little bit, get to go through March. And then at the top of the next page, then we get to the last day for submittals. And those, you can stop right there, those 5 in blue are the days that we've set out for the in-districts. They don't have to be in chronological order, but those are the days that needs to happen. And that in-district meeting schedule is going to coincide with wrapping up any remaining proposals, sort of, cleaning up what hasn't already been determined is something that is going to be moved for final consideration. And then we're also, during that schedule of in-district meetings, going to have to be moving to discussion of moving things from our hopper, as we've been calling it, to really substantive discussion and tightening things up and really winnowing down to what we're going to come down to voting for final consideration. And final consideration means we're voting to send it to the ballot or to do something else with it, to send it back to the county council as a recommendation, or to do nothing with it. So we're gonna put this document in the packets next week, but I wanted to kind of visually show folks that we need to keep moving. So if you have additional proposals, please go ahead and keep working on them, keep submitting them, keep gathering them from other stakeholders, and we will be slotting them in roughly following this time frame.
Yes, and it's another request from Jared. I know, Jared, sorry, we were gonna request if you could see our website just to go through it really quick. And I will say other words while you do that. I'm so sorry, we gave you 0 heads up. Yes, Commissioner Malowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question, and please forgive me, I might not have remembered. For those who are sponsoring, was there a format to that, or are we using the same format?
It's the same format.
Okay,
all
right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Yannick?
I wanted to make a recommendation on the review the tracking chart. I did not see the tracking chart, but I like Excel spreadsheets, but I like that it's in numbers, how we have the definite, any proposals from the public and, all nicely and in chronological order, and even if one's withdrawn, it just says, whatever happened to it. But I like seeing that because it helps me keep in mind as the numbers start growing, who's doing what and stuff. So if we could add that to our packets every week.
So very much appreciate that recommendation. Thank you. I think one of the issues that we run into when we're trying to put that into the packet regularly is that we have committed to give our wonderful clerk our documents for the packet by Thursday afternoon. And sometimes by Monday afternoon, we have a very different slate of proposals. And so I think that's been one of the struggles, is trying to keep that as up to date as possible, to then also present something that feels true at the time. So we do have it on our agenda every week to be something that we review up on the screen. So, Vice Chair.
We've also talked about with our clerk's assistants, and she didn't say no, is a Monday morning push out of just day of things, which could include that Excel spreadsheet that shows the the tracking, the current tracking, anything that's not a proposal, because we all agreed that those would be filed by the Thursday noon before the meeting. So if people are going to be in the habit or willing to be in the habit of looking at their email prior to the meeting, that's another way we could get it to people more timely.
Or Commissioner Haneke, or even just print it out, put it on our desk.
Thank you, Commissioner Haneke. All right, so on to our website. Thank you so much for getting this onto the screen. So first of all, it's a beautiful website. Huge thank you to Brian for all of his work. We have excused him going forward so he doesn't have to keep coming every Monday night unless we have something specific to need his thoughts about. But I will take back any suggestions that we have and then be able to get those answered for the next week. So hopefully you all are very familiar with our website at this point, but the things we wanted to highlight are that on the right-hand side, there is still the contact the Charter Commission clerk. Below that is provide written public comments. That is where all public comments should go. And oh, do you mind clicking on the provide written public comment? Thank you. And this should take you to a form that is very short and sweet. It asks for some basic information and then to fill out the comment section. And hopefully all of the commissioners have not received, I think it was the 10 or so that we got between Friday afternoon and this morning. So they just come to myself, Vice Chair Lentz, and our clerk, because I know it had been, all of those public comments had been going to everyone and everyone's getting a lot of emails. You'll still get those in your packet, but you won't be getting individual emails every time someone sends a public comment in. So you'll still get the information, but you won't get that kind of barrage of wonderful, important public comment every time you open your email. You'll get it in your packet.
And then if you could go back out from there, thanks.
Go back to the front.
Go back to the yeah, just the main page, yeah. So then the top button, contact the commission clerk, that's an email that goes directly to Katie, the clerk. So it's not designed to take public comment, but if somebody happened to click that open and wrote a public comment, she would intake it as that. And then if we can go down a little bit further, there were some questions here. The button at the bottom, submit a charter amendment proposal, if you wouldn't mind clicking on that, Chair. This is a revamped version of the form that was generating all of, and wait, stop right there, generating all of those emails to us last week. This is intended as a place for the public, if members of the public want to suggest something in an amendment form or close to it, this is a button that you can use for that. It will take you to the heading there says amendment proposal sheet. If you click on that, it takes you to a fillable PDF form of the proposal sheet that we're using to keep track of our amendments. And I would say to commissioners, at the same time as we're going forward, I think kind of similar to what Commissioner Haneke said, is there a way to find, and to what Commissioner Boyd said, is there a way for people to know what we're doing, what we're working on? We're trying to get a similar look and feel to all of our amendment proposals, so they get tracked. So we're all going to be using this form. So commissioners, if you are putting something together, feel free to go to the website to jump to this and to grab the form from there. You can save it, wherever you want to save it. But this is the latest, greatest version of that form. So those were the new things. And then if you want to go back out to the main page again, a little farther down, there had been questions about where people can get the meeting materials. So if you go down a little bit farther, my bad. Where? I can't read it. View meeting, yeah, sorry. That button. So if you click that open, then from there you see two different ways. I think the chair mentioned it earlier. There's several different ways to access. If you click the first link, you just get the agenda. If you click the second link, you get the packet. One of those download buttons gives you the whole thing as a PDF. I don't remember which one, but you can play around with it. And that's where that stuff is going to live for both commissioners and members of the public. So anything else? There's, yeah. And then way under that, there is little maps of everyone's district and ways that you can click through and send an email to individual commissioners for that district, or the bottom link will be for all three of us from each district. So if our constituents or even, you know, folks who live in other districts want to contact three commissioners at once from a particular district, there's a way to do it there. So hopefully this is really, really close to being perfect, but please, those of you who are here in the audience, please know that that's a resource that we want to be useful to you. And for commissioners as well, it should be kind of a go-to place where you can go and get the materials and also grab that form, email one another, all the things.
No, I believe that was all of our website updates, and we already got an update about report back from listening sessions. So thank you all for that. I don't know if any other districts would like to share any updates about upcoming listening sessions that they have scheduled so that we all know. Hopefully they're on our calendar, but also in person. So Commissioner Rohrer, did you, and there's
Commissioner Rohrer, I had a question. Is video available or the audio available online, or does that have to be requested? And then my other question was, so you were saying that when someone writes in a public comment, it could get to us, we potentially wouldn't see it for like several days. Is that how the system is kind of set up right now?
So to your two questions, the first, yes, the videos are all online under the previous meeting videos.
Thank you.
No problem. And then for the public comment, so right now the way it's set up is that if someone submits a public comment, it just goes to the clerk and then Vice Chair Lentz and I, because there had been a concern last week about the amount of emails everyone was getting about public comment, because it will be in your packet. If it comes in by Thursday at noon, it'll be in your packet on Monday. So that was our way of dealing with that. But if you would like to receive public comment, the many wonderful public comments that come in every day, we could probably add you to that list.
I would.
That.
Are you saying you're giving commissioners you know, they can request that?
I will confirm with Brian that is possible.
Okay.
And then if it is, I will ask for anyone who would like to be added to that.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be consistent. So if everybody wants them in real time, we can go back to doing that. Otherwise, the current setup is, as the chair said, is whatever's collected up to packet publication goes in the packet. Anything that comes in after that is rounded up for the next week. So, I mean, I think either can be done, but my preference would be that everybody does the same thing, so we all know in real time where everybody else is.
Thank you, Commissioner. Did you have anything else with that? No. Commissioner Likens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is just an announcement that in District 7, we have our first listening session. It's not on the calendar yet, but it will be at 10:30 a.m. at the Key Peninsula of Pierce County Library on Saturday, March 7th.
Wonderful, thank you. Commissioner Bovee, I don't know if you were first or if it was Commissioner Gibb, but we'll go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the website where, to Commissioner Hannock's point, it would be nice to have the spreadsheet that shows or links for every amendment so that people can go through them. I know that the questions that I get asked are what amendments are being proposed, and it's really time consuming for the public to go through each packet. And then there are amendments to the amendments or amendments to the proposals. So it gets confusing, so I think it would be very helpful to have C1 and a link, and it goes to the amendment, C2 and a link, and it goes to the amendment. If that's possible.
So we will ask Brian to see how possible that is. It's just a lot of updating for the county staff to have to do every single time we have a new amendment, and we've just kind of started that process. So I'll ask Brian, I'll bring that back to him, and then we can bring it back next week. I am hearing multiple folks really wanting that, so thank you for bringing that up.
And then secondarily, we don't have locations yet, but we are looking, District 3 is looking at listing sessions for March 14th and March 20th. So they're not on the calendar yet, but we're working on it.
Wonderful. All right, Commissioner Ginn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to share about the District 4 listening sessions because I know Commissioner Hannock is keeping tabs of how many everybody has scheduled. We have 3 listening sessions that are on the calendar on the website. Our first one is March 18th at the Fircrest Community Center. We have one April 18th at the University Place Library and April 29th at Asia Pacific Cultural Center.
Wonderful, thank you. And then Commissioner Strickland.
Hi, I actually just wanted to say I like the way that that's set up where people can give public comment, but I'm 100% okay with hearing every public comment, like in real time, I guess, like, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So maybe that is something folks can think deeply about, especially when you see maybe the next packet to see how much public comment is coming in, and then we can maybe talk about it at our next meeting to see if we want to have it all go back to real-time receival of those public comments. We can also just do it now. Vice Chair Lentz would like us to maybe just do it now. So is there any objection to everyone receiving public comment as it is submitted? All right, seeing none, we will ask Brian to move it back. Wonderful, thank you, everyone. Okay, so that is the end of my chair update. Commissioner.
Thank you. I just wanted to report that District 2 has one listening session scheduled for April 1st, which is a Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. at Edgewood City Hall. And we are working on 2 more right now. Just haven't confirmed it yet.
Wonderful. Everyone's doing such a great job with these listening sessions. Thank you all so much for the work. I know it's additional to what you're already doing here, and it's really a huge deal for our community, so thank you. Okay, with that, I'm gonna say, let's take a recess. Do I have any objections to us taking a recess?
Definitely not.
Okay. Commissioner Velasquez is gonna be real surprised. All right, so we're gonna take a recess. I've been told we don't actually need a motion for this since there's no objections. So we'll be on recess until 7:38. No, 7:47. There we go.
There we go.
I can do math.
I'll be a minute. Yeah.
All right, everyone, let's find our seats. All right, I think we're all back, so if we, I don't know if we're still on recess or if we can.
It's not straight.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing the wrong thing. All right, so where we are back in the agenda because we don't have our parliamentary training for tonight. We are on to amendment proposals. Sorry, JR, we could look at the Excel spreadsheet for our proposal tracker. So here is where we are, so many people can see it too. For all of those who love a spreadsheet, here's what we have. These are all of our commissioner proposals. I'll give you all a second to look at that. Any questions, thoughts, or comments? And then if we could look at, there's no other officials yet, but we do have public proposals. We could go one more tab over. Wonderful. We do have two. And one of those has been sponsored by Commissioner Molaski. So that is where we're at in our current proposal tracking. Are there any questions? Oh, Commissioner O'Leary.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner O'Leary. Could you go back to the first screen, please? Excuse me. So where we look at take Commissioner Rydell Kelly's excuse me, C2 over on the status. Didn't we have a first meeting discussion last week on that?
We did, yes. Thank you, Commissioner O'Leary, for catching that. So we will update that for future meetings. So yes, we have met the first meeting status for Commissioner Rydell Kelly's.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate everyone's attention to detail. Commissioner Surratt? Yeah, no worries trying to get that tag up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Surratt, District 5. Minor edits to my own initial work. My amendment proposal should reflect 4.70 and not 4.7 by themselves. So if those could be added with their proper zeros, that'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm hearing Vice Chair Lindsay gotcha, so we'll get that going. All right, seeing no other thoughts or comments, we will move on to public amendment proposals for consideration of commissioner sponsorship. So currently we have one public amendment, and that is P2, Citizenship for Voter Registration. This proposal was in our packets last week. Are there any commissioners who are interested in sponsoring this proposal? Seeing none, that will continue to be on our agenda next week. And currently, I don't believe we had any commissioner amendment proposals for information and potential consideration for vote sponsorship, because I believe all of the proposals that we had last week that would have fit that definition are under revision, unless there is any information I'm missing. I'm looking at the two folks and it sounds like that is correct. So we will skip on past 7C and move right on to 7D, which is commissioner sponsored public amendment proposals. So, So because this is our first public proposal and first sponsorship, thank you, Commissioner Malowski, for being the first. This particular proposal has not gone to the code revisor yet. So would you like to have that go to the code revisor before we do any further discussion of the proposal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that's going to be very important. So that way we start with clarity.
Okay.
And that'll work out this time.
Wonderful. So if you would like to send that to our code revisor, and feel free to work with Vice Chair Lentz on how to make all that happen, and that would be helpful.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So we will hold off on that until next week then. All right, so on to E, which is substantive discussion of amendment proposals previously advanced by 4 votes. And we are on to our first reading of, our first reading of C6, the preamble, submitted by Commissioner Rogi. So this is our time to have substantive discussion about this proposal. And as we discussed earlier and all kind of agreed to, that if there are particular questions, we will kind of skip over the next kind of person in line in terms of discussion so that Commissioner Rogi can answer those questions. And this is a time also to think about any sort of amendments to this proposal. Just since we kind of needed that first bit of information last week for our first reading. So, Commissioner Brody, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to start off with for tonight. You don't have your name card up, but I'm calling on you anyway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Rogi. I did explain at the last reading, I believe, that, or one of the meetings, that I have submitted this proposal because keeping the word citizen is very important, because there's a lot of responsibility with regards to the word citizen. They are responsible for voting. So, but I do recognize that the operation of government, we serve community, we serve residents in Pierce County. And so I wanted to make sure that this reflects the operation of government. And so I added "and resident" for consideration.
Wonderful, thank you. Any additional questions or discussion, thoughts from commissioners? I'm eagle-eyed for anyone who's taking a move.
I think it would be really maybe a nice amendment to add community member to that, beyond just resident.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Okay.
Proposing an amendment.
All right, so we have an amendment to add community member to the existing language after resident.
Yep.
All right, so we have a second is discussion. Yes. All right, I saw Commissioner Malowski first and then Commissioner Rogi.
I think that what Commissioner Rogi has proposed is suffice. Resident does kind of fall under the community. I don't know how many more definitions that we need on that. I'm just looking more about clarity. So if this is going to be used, we're looking at the use of government operations for the community or the residency versus this being involved in voting process. So that would be my concern in regards to that.
Commissioner Rogi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. While resident does include community members, I think the term resident is throughout the document. It is a qualifier for being on the commission even. So I think in order to be consistent, putting different terms in there that have maybe arbitrary meanings or aren't consistent with the rest of the document, I believe don't add clarity. And I think that we need to keep this document concise and clear and consistent. And it is a high-level document, and the word citizen and resident includes all those in the county.
Commissioner Fletcher?
Commissioner Fletcher, District 5. Question for Commissioner Strickland. Strickling, apologies. What do you mean by community member?
Well, I think that there is a lot of different ways to define people in Pierce County, people that are affected by our laws, the way that they exist. So it could be anybody from people that work here, like say migrant workers that are here for a short period of time, or people that come from all over, but they're contributors to our society. They contribute to with their paychecks to our taxes. They are contributing to things, but maybe not necessarily a homeowner.
All right, Commissioner Hannick?
When I think of this resident versus community, the resident is kind of a fixed and stable. They are someone who is defined by living in a certain, household or residence or geographical area. Whereas the word community is kind of based on the word commonness. And so that I belong to a community of Japanese Americans, I belong to a community of my business groups. And so it is kind of a moving target. It is not a fixed definition of what, we can be members of different communities. So it has a kind of a different type of way of viewing that word. And I'm looking at the preamble as being more concrete, more definitive, and so I'm not sure that this is the right place for the word community, and maybe it's best fit elsewhere in our documents.
Commissioner Consuelo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My heart wants to go with community member, but I understand that with that inclusion, it might not go as far in the voting process if we were to put it to the voters because of the high level of bias we've heard today. But I do want to unpack the word resident and just additional reasons as to why I believe community members should be involved. I do appreciate the extension of resident as well. But similar to how Commissioner Hennick just mentioned, resident relates to permanency. And in my community, some of the young folks that I work with are homeless or don't have a permanent residence, where couch surfing is very often very common, or having to be in shelters. And so that's kind of taking away that inclusion for our members who are currently facing housing instability. Additionally, with how the economy is going, I feel like we are no longer working where we live and we're no longer living where we work. So even though I don't currently work in Pierce County, I live here, but I can say the same about my status working in Seattle, to where I do have a sense of, permanence there, to where I can speak on my experience working in that area. So folks who call this place home or their workplace, I believe have the right to speak on topics that are surrounding Pierce County. So that's my background into this. I really appreciate the amendment by Commissioner Rogi. I would hope we can get Commissioner Strickling, thank you, girl. Strickling as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner again. I think this is both a comment and a question, and I apologize if it's maybe a tangent for where the comments have been, but when I read the preambles of the other county charters in Washington State, it says citizens of Snohomish County, citizens of Whatcom County. So when I see citizen, I don't interpret that as American citizen. I interpret that as resident. So I think Commissioner Rowi's amendment is better than what's there to provide that clarity, but I also find it a bit duplicative And that my preference is still to say resident because I believe that includes all of the citizens of Pierce County. It seems like a lot of people here, when they see citizen, are saying that that's American citizen. So I don't know if I'm missing something, but when I read all the other preambles, I can be a citizen of Pierce County without being an American citizen, perhaps.
Madam Chair, point of order, I want to make sure we're on the amendment, which is to add community member, and that would be the germane topic for this part of debate.
That is correct, Commissioner Layton, thank you. All right, Commissioner Malasky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple of things. One, in regards to the citizen, it's basically those who are either born or has been naturalized.
Point of order, we are talking about resident or community, adding community member. So that is the amendment, and that is the motion at hand, and that is the germane topic. And then that either is up or down, or then we can talk about the other parts.
Okay, so first part is the community side of the house, right?
Community member, correct.
So the thing is, I don't approve in regard to using the word community because it doesn't have a structured, solid foundation of the individual being part of the community. All right, definition went out there. If I can work at one location, I can look at that as a community. Working at another location, I can be identified as a community member. Me looking at a community member is basically my physical address that states that I am a person in that community where my physical address is at. So if my physical address is at 14010 68th Avenue East, that is where my community base is at. Another example is as a military veteran, when we travel, it's not a permanent community. And that's what we're looking at, is permanent residency or permanent community. And so when I have to do anything in regards to voting, all right, it goes back to my so-called home of record, which is my community. All right, from there. So the thing is, using the word community, I don't think is justifiable. Using the word residence is going to be justifiable. That I don't see the duplicity of that in regards to that. From there, did I make that requirement right there?
Yes, so thank you very much for talking about the community member piece.
Okay, thank you so much. May I continue?
So that is where we're at right now, is talking about community member. When we move forward, we can then call on you again.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Riddle-Kelly.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Commissioner Riddle-Kelly. I want to express a strong preference for inclusion of community member. If we are to add additional language around resident, then I think it's also imperative that we add community member to make it clear that that is inclusive of people that live and work here. And I would add, on top of the very valid, very powerful points made by Commissioners Strickling and Consuelo, that there's also just a really practical implication of that like, if we're getting to the point where we're moving beyond citizen in the way defined by Commissioner Ginn and the other charters from other counties, that we're actually getting into the precise question that people brought up with my amendment last week about what is giving service versus denying service and who is in and who's out. And that's why ultimately I would support strongly moving away from citizen at all. But if we are to add another dimension there, then we have to make it really clear that it is inclusive and not limiting or restricting to just people that live in a home, own a home, or are somehow voters associated with home address, because that's not how county services work anywhere. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Commissioner Hannick.
I don't think this precludes anyone that is homeless, that we're not saying you don't belong to Pierce County, because even in the voting world, your street corner where your tent is your home address as your base. So, and again, I'm looking at this from a government feeling that they are responsible to take care of their people, so to speak. So that's why I like the word residents, citizens, whereas community, it's a commonness. So like you were saying, you have your community where you work, which is not in Pierce County. Well, that is a community, but I don't think that's the right type of community that should be defined in this preamble of saying, we are going to help you and take care of you. We have a responsibility to take care of a certain group of people, because they have this contingency, not just because they work here, because they're King County, if you're working in, another county, that county is where the residents, everybody has a connection of living somewhere. And so this is just saying those that live in Pierce County are under our umbrella. Even if you work somewhere else, your house and your abode is here. And so, where you sleep at night is in Pierce County. And that doesn't matter if you have a home, if you're moving around, there's other requirements, but I just say, just because you're homeless doesn't mean you don't matter.
Commissioner Ruby?
I appreciate all of the comments that are coming today, and I see the heart in them all. And if we had unlimited resources, then maybe that makes sense, but as a Pierce County government agency, we are responsible for the citizens and residents of Pierce County. We don't have enough resources to take care of everyone. And I think community member doesn't, like Sharon was making a really good point about, while there are lots of different communities, we have a responsibility in our commission and in Pierce County to serve Pierce County. We just don't have the resources to serve the world. And so thinking in those terms, we need to make sure that we're protecting our resources and we're protecting our residents and the citizens who vote in Pierce County.
Commissioner Likens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think when we actually look at what is the preamble saying in regards to community, citizen, resident, what have you, and the sentence in the preamble is encouraging, currently as it stands, encouraging citizen participation. Participation. It's not talking about receiving of services. It's talking about encouraging participation in the process in government. Whether that word is community, which I actually think fits well, encourages community participation. Isn't that what we all want? Don't we want fine folks who show up at these meetings and stay for the whole thing, God bless them, and give public comment, give us feedback. What we're looking for is that engagement. If that word is community, that makes perfect sense to me. I don't see in the preamble anything about the entire community is going to be receiving all kinds of services from the government. This is just about, do we want community participation? Do we want resident participation? Do we want citizen participation? The word community, which at first I was like, okay, do we need to go that deep? But when I think about it, community embraces all those. So I think we need to look at what the preamble is saying.
Commissioner Fletcher?
Thank you, Commissioner Hunter. Commissioner Fletcher, District 5. Commissioner Likens brings up an excellent point. Let's look at the preamble as a whole. Unfortunately, she didn't include the entire sentence right before encourage citizen resident participation. There is claim the rights of initiative and referendum and encourage citizen participation. And so when I read this together as a whole, I do see what I believe to be the intended purpose of the preamble is to be citizen participation through the vote, through the form of voting, through the form of initiative rights and referendum rights that are granted to citizens of Pierce County. I don't think they necessarily apply to those that live in King County and work in Pierce County, or live in Thurston County and spend their weekends in Pierce County. And so essentially, if we are going to go down this route, I understand that we are contorting the entire meaning of the preamble just by adding community members. So, I mean, that's something that I think this commission should, take into consideration when, we like these words, community members, it sounds nice, it's inclusive totally, and that's definitely something that we can all support. But understand the knock-on effects would be the inversion of, I think, the current preamble.
Thank you. So I do want to make sure that we remember we are on an amendment to the proposal and want to make sure we're kind of getting back to taking some action. So we'll go with Commissioner Malowski, Riddle Kelly, and then, and Close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Fletcher. You brought out the clarity of what I was looking for. And that was the key thing, was this was with voting be involved in this process. And if it is, then this is where I stand in regards to how it is written. It should stay that way. I don't mind adding the word residency in that, because it has to be some type of investment into this process. So if voting is involved in this, then that is my concern, and that's why I brought that up. Especially the example with me being in the military, if we're voting in one place, I can't vote in the state that I'm in, I have to vote where my home and record is at. Right, that is my community in regards to that. So we just can't do a blanket sheet across the thing and say everybody should be able to participate in something that is governmentally important and sensitive, which is voting. So thank you so much for the clarity.
Commissioner Riddle Kelly.
Commissioner Riddle Kelly, District 4. I'm just going to keep this really quick. If we do treat it in its entirety, that portion of preamble is several clauses, and each of the clauses are treated independent and separate. That is not saying that claiming rights, initiative, and referendum are so the responsibility or part of integrated county government. Those are the responsibility and actions of the citizens. Just as providing responsible integrated county government is the responsibility of the government, just as participating and showing up is the responsibility of community. So to me, those treated as a whole, if anything, reinforces the point that Commissioner Strickland is making. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Willis.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Willis, District 3. Commissioner Willis, District 3, excuse me. To the good commissioner over there, excuse me, in the 4th, I am losing my voice and I apologize. There was a great point brought up in regards to what defines community member and what is the definition and precision of community member. And while I believe it reflects inclusive values, I don't believe it belongs in the charter as a primary legal definition or is undefined in the definition of in the preamble because of it lacks the definition, while terms person, people, resident, and citizen are more constitutionally grounded and legally defensible in foundational government values. So I believe unless there is better defines or definitions of community member, I just don't think this is the place for that term.
All right, so that concludes discussion because we've already had, and Commissioner Hannick, we've already had multiple, okay, so Commissioner Hannick.
Just where I don't think anyone who wants to talk, we should continue to vet completely, any issue. It was mentioned about that I think somebody had mentioned, this is mean that we have to provide services to other people in Pierce County have the ability to do that. The one thing is in the preamble, it sets up the body of people that the entire charter is going to be about. So as we move through and we have another proposal that's going to help the needy and help other folks. So is the needy going to be a community needy, or is it going to be the needy of citizens and residents? So I just wanted to just kind of make sure that what we say here in the preamble sets up the tone for everything else that we're going to see in the charter.
Thank you, Commissioner Hannick. So I think it was Commissioner Layton and then Commissioner Strickland.
Madam Chair, I call previous question null debate.
Second.
It requires a second and 2/3 vote and it's non-debatable. Thank you.
So we have a second from Commissioner Lance. All right, so I am going to ask for a hand raise on this one so I can do the math. So Commissioner Lee, can you say it's calling the question?
On the amendment, ends debate now, and then we just immediately vote on the amendment, yes.
So all in favor of the amendment to add community member after? Okay.
We gotta vote on previous
On
question, which
previous
requires a 2/3 vote.
Okay, so gonna call a vote to question the to end debate. There we go. I'm just gonna stop. End debate. All right, all in favor, please raise your hand. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that, and 12, sorry, that's me. So that is not what was that? 14, so that does not meet that threshold of the 2/3. So we'll continue discussion. Commissioner Strickland.
Okay, don't need to mess around with that anymore. I'm going to offer a couple more examples instead of migrant workers. I'm going to offer the example of nurses that come in from wherever, there's a lot of traveling professional occupations where they come in and are not necessarily from Pierce County, but do participate in our society.
Isn't 14 2/3 of 21? Sorry, I had to do math really quick.
We only had 12.
Oh, you had 12. I thought you called 14. Sorry about that.
Sorry, we're saying 12 and then 14 would be 2/3.
Did you count it?
Sorry about that.
There was only one on screen and yes, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Strickland.
Thank you. The other thing is, when you think about, say, when there's wildfires, right? You have firefighters that are going into different areas that are working on things. I think that when you have people in your community that are working to benefit and help your community, period, regardless of what their occupation is or their housing status or whatever, laws and government still applies to them in that county. And I think that it's important that we consider those things as our economy shifts and changes, and as people need to move around to work and to feed their families. And I think that being respectful of that and being respectful of taxpayers is a very smart and responsible way to move in this way.
Commissioner Consuelo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to double down on my preference for including community members. Working with our immigrant and refugee community for years, boards not only have a political and governmental weight, it has a community weight to it too. So if resident is better than citizen in its inclusion, but for many folks here who are either undocumented or seeking asylum or refugees, we have a lot of folks coming into Pierce County to call Pierce County home. And we want to have that foundation to where they feel that they can continue to reside here and become part of the community here. I'm not saying to assimilate, I will never say assimilate, but to be welcomed with open arms. And so the weight of resident in that sphere, in the sphere that I'm coming from, still is not as inclusive to that population. I'm sorry, I keep using inclusive because it is what it is. They will not, a lot of folks come from different countries where government is not inclusionary. It is not for the people. And so to open this door for them to become part of our community like we want them to be to the fullest extent, I don't think it should purely reside on voting capability. Those things will naturally filter themselves out. They will not be voting in local elections. They will not be voting or trying to sign up to vote because they know that they don't have the capacity to do so. So that is my proposal for having community members included in the preamble.
Commissioner Malowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In response in regards to, we have like traveling nurses and so forth that comes through from there. Their needs are being taken care of as it is. I'm kind of confused because I'm wondering what needs do they need to have? I mean, what's fixed? I mean, what's broken in that needs to be fixed in regards to those? As an example, traveling nurses, we got, engineers, people traveling back and forth, even myself, because I'm not Washingtonian, I'm from Boston. So the thing is that I don't understand what needs need to be met.
Point of order, we're not debating. We have to speak to.
Okay.
Community members.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I framed it incorrectly, thank you so much. I'm trying to understand what makes it that would meet the requirement.
Yeah, so I think you just need to share your thoughts,
Oh.
Unless you had a question about the proposed or the amendment.
All right.
Specifically.
Okay, so I'll share my thoughts in regards to that. I think that might be easier for me. Thank you, Mr. Herrick. So the thing is that I don't see the logic in regards to in that at all. It doesn't make sense to me at all in regards to that. So to identify that as something that should be considered in that thought there. The other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not sharing the proper format, for individuals that was, that's not a citizens, in Washington State or not a citizens in Pierce County, however that's going to be framed. There's no invested interest to be considered within the community. Their presence and existence, for me, doesn't justify that for me. Yes, we're going to do what it is that's humanitarianly supposed to be there and take care of people and so forth. But my thing is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if we're looking at the preamble on the whole body, and we're looking at it as part of a voting structure for this, all right, then the word community just can't be used because there's nothing substantial that says that they are a permanent structure or a vested interest within this community. So if I framed it incorrectly, just let me know and I'll correct that. It'd be good.
Thank you. Commissioner Rohrer. Thank you. So my comments are these. In regards to people living and working in our community, I feel like it's already implied that they're already community members. And adding the word community kind of waters down our preamble. It's already stated in there, our business, what we stand for. And again, adding the words community member to me kind of waters down what we're trying to do here. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Hammack?
Commissioner Hammack, District 1. As I'm listening to the definitions of who could be in a community member, I'm hearing the visiting nurses. My niece is a visiting nurse, and when she goes someplace for 2 months, she does not really expect that she is a resident citizen or really a community member. She's so busy, just one-on-one with her patient, and then it makes me wonder. Then that's transient. So, are we defining community members anyone who just drives through, the firefighters who comes here temporarily? And I think that is such a broad, vague definition that we need to pinpoint a little bit more so that we can, share with the voters who will be voting on this. What is a community member? Just because you happen to come through here and go shopping in Walmart, are you a community member because you're part of the Walmart community? So that's just something I think we need to have more structure and definition to the word community as we go through this document. And I think that could be a question upon us on how to define it.
Commissioner Rogie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is it on?
So, yeah. Oh, it's the little one underneath.
The battery.
Okay, this is better. So
we, the people of Pierce County, Washington, in order to secure the benefits of home rule, establish separate legislative and executive branches, provide responsible and integrated county government, claim the rights of initiative and referendum, and encourage citizen and resident participation, proposably putting in community member. That concerns me to add community member, especially with the conversation that we've been having with regards to anybody being able to come and participate or encourage our resources to be distributed or our services. Somebody from Seattle, people from Portland, people from Idaho, anybody's welcome. So that is why when I went through this document and I saw the word resident and we had the discussion, and that is why I added and resident specifically, because we want to serve our local people who are here, who contribute, and we just don't have the ability to serve everybody coming. And do we want influence from Kentucky, or name any state, name any city that can come here and participate, and what that means in our preamble and influence the way our government operates. I want to serve our local community. I think that's my obligation, and that's why I submitted it the way I did. Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, sure.
Per Robert's rules, which we have adopted, I believe a speaker can speak twice to a motion before a vote. So I know that we're all in this, but it would be nice if, we haven't done the training and I understand that, but that we stick to once you've spoken twice. And you can speak for up to 10 minutes in Robert's rules twice. But that once you've done that, we should really stay within Robert's rules.
Thank you, Commissioner Likens. So I appreciate that point of order. I see no other cards unless Commissioner Bergen with you. Oh, sorry. That would have been two anyway, so thank you. Not seeing any additional, Commissioner Willis.
Sure, thank you. Commissioner Willis is 3 apologies. There we go. I just wanted to see if I am able to ask legal in the room if they have any definition under Washington state law, Pierce County code, and applicable case law. Does the term community member have a recognized legal definition?
Thank you. So is that something that we would be able to bring back for next week, unless you happen to have thoughts right now?
I don't have any particular thoughts right now. I don't think I'll find anything.
Thank you. All right, I see no other commissioners with discussion. So the amendment that we have on the table is to add community member after the word resident on our proposal. I'm gonna call for a vote. So all in favor of adding community member after the word resident, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
All abstained. I believe that amendment then fails. So we are back to the original motion, which.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So the original motion, which is to, what?
No.
Yeah, there's no motion. Sorry, I'm just trying to get back. Just to our original discussion of the proposal. Any additional discussion for the original proposal? Commissioner Surratt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Surratt, District 5. I do want to restate a general objection of mine to affect the preamble at this point in any way without us having made any adoption of new articles that materially affect this document, because I think otherwise we are making changes to a document from 1980. So until that time occurs, I think the recommendation of Commissioner Rogi as presented is sufficient to cover existing participation with residents, and it's one I'm happy to support.
Commissioner Willis, or I think, sorry, Commissioner.
Sorry, wrong card. Commissioner
I was like, you're just nominating Commissioner Willis, Commissioner Heimlich.
Apologies. Commissioner Heimlich, I just wanted to point out when we get emails and people are submitting public comment, it asks, are you a Pierce County resident? So I think it is entirely appropriate to add that language to the charter because those are the people we are encouraging to comment, encouraging to participate. So I am in favor of that.
Any additional discussion for the proposal before us? So seeing none, we will move the proposal as it is on to a second reading for next week. All right, so that moves us on to talking about our second reading of C2 intergovernmental relations, proposed by Commissioner Rydell Kelly. So this is a time for discussion about this amendment. Commissioner Rydell Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Rydell Kelly. I was very excited to bring forth this proposal and have really great substantive discussion last week. I think I was really impressed with the level of kind of feedback and thoughtfulness that people gave in conversation at the meeting. I also received really great feedback from Commissioners Likens and Ginn in the interim about ways in which this could be cleaned up and simplified a bit. That I have taken in good faith and is very helpful, and have a couple of actual additional very small changes I wanted to make on my own to make this just both tighter and, in my opinion, more powerful. So to that end, and because I am the guinea pig in this entire process, it seems, I actually have an amendment to my own proposal, which the chair and vice chair and staff were generous enough to get printed today, and my colleague in District 4, Jake, is going to apparently hand them out. Or just take one to pass it down, that's my bet. So, you know, the original intent of this proposal, as it's become very clear, I think, time and in prior weeks, is really to enshrine how our county cooperates with other levels of government to serve our community, which actually is a word that got added here, completely independent of the last discussion. Folks that live here and folks that are served and interact with our government in all different ways, and to really maximize on supporting vulnerable folks, while also preventing resources. In the original draft, as noted by the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, which is no longer included, but from federal immigration enforcement, because it is not the purview of counties, as very rightly put by one of the great public comments earlier tonight. Since then, I think there's been really good conversation about cleaning up, making it more simple, and I think there's been events in the world that have really reinforced you know, the need for all this. So I'm thinking of this week alone, the Department of Housing and Urban Development put forth a policy saying that anyone that has illegal immigrants living in their units that is qualifying for any type of federal housing subsidy has to kick them out or lose the subsidy and face eviction, which is essentially deputizing ICE to be the country's biggest force for evictions. There's a very real risk of local governments of all types, municipalities, counties, elsewhere, becoming victimized by this and becoming subject to this unless they make it really clear, you know, how and when they're going to cooperate and how and when they're going to share resources. So again, I think the timeliness of all these world events just really reinforces the need for common sense language that leads at our values and says what we will and will not do. And we shall prioritize cooperation when it serves our most vulnerable residents and communities. That's the modification. And the language around immigration enforcement is much more simple and much more straightforward and much more clarified. So I'm really hopeful that folks will vote up these amendments and make this a tighter, simpler, more powerful way of expressing our values and how we cooperate as a county. Thank you.
Thank you. So I did want to let our virtual commissioners know that Vice Chair Lenz has also just emailed you the same document that was handed out in the room so that you should have access to that. I'm sorry, we did not think through that particular part. Again, thank you, Commissioner Rydell Kelly, for doing these things first so that now we know what to do going forward. So Commissioner O'Leary, I don't know if your hand was up because you were asking for the document itself.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I was not only for myself, but for the citizens watching online. You know, not having this, is there a way that it could be shared online other than just through our email?
Or,
so
or put up on screen, sorry, sorry, or put up on the screen, shared screen that we're
because
watching.
we're talking about a document not everyone can see. That's my concern. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing up that concern. I'm wondering if Vice Chair Lenz, since you have the computer open, if you can maybe forward that. And then, Chair, I'm so sorry. I know that I am now committing another infraction. Okay, that's fine. I am already in the hot seat, everyone.
Well, Madam Chair, I'll admit I'm traveling for work and I did not bring the brick of our computer that the county gave us. So and since we cannot access our county email on any other device, I'm not even going to be able to see the email, to be honest. So
we are working on getting it to you right now. So we'll hold discussion until all members of the commission have access to the document. Commissioner Heimlich, did you have?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a motion based on process. And so my motion would be that we continue discussion of this proposal next week. So that's the motion I would make.
Second. All right, so we have a motion to continue the discussion to next week. And we have a second. Any discussion?
Can I speak to that real quick? Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Heimlich again, I just think as a best practice, when we're voting on something to amend the charter, and this is the second hearing, this language is pretty different than it was previously. And so I think when we have commissioners traveling, when we have the public, I think just from a process perspective, treating this as a second reading and a final up-down vote, I don't think is true to the process that we would like to have and hold ourselves to. So I appreciate the amendments. I do appreciate the effort to clean it up, but I would like to have time to evaluate, time to study, time to look at it. And so that's why I'm making the motion and allow the public to have input. So that's why I would like to consider this, kind of move that discussion to next week as well.
Thank you. And I do want to admit it was our recommendation to bring it as an amendment. So Commissioner Rydell Kelly is really working hard to figure out how to move through our process. Commissioner O'Leary.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner O'Leary, District 1. I just want to reinforce what Commissioner Heimlich said. We had this come up previously, and people have withdrawn their amendments to make revisions to bring them back to the body. And I just think it's really important that there is time to digest this and that the public can see exactly what we are talking about and has time to review it as well. I mean, that's why we're here, and transparency is exceptionally important. So I am in full agreement with the motion, and I appreciate Commissioner Heimlich bringing it up. Thank you.
Commissioner Rydell Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Rydell Kelly. I just want to remind everyone that we're working through this process together and we're figuring out how we do this. And in prior meetings, what's happened is the very initial language was brought forth and then it was retracted to do some workshopping after legal guidance was given, right? That's my read of the situation. But in any kind of deliberative governing body, when you have elected folks, people are going to bring amendments different ways. And if it's part of our process, that amendments are allowed to be brought from the floor, which is my understanding that they are, then this is going to be a thing that happens over and over again. And I'm not saying that I want to ram through discussion on this. I'm just saying as the guinea pig, a proposal, that's what's going on, right? There is an amendment and there is discussion about the amendment, which is fully functional under Robert's rules and totally normal process. But way more importantly than that, for our process here as a body, anything goes through today goes into the hopper and gets significantly more substantive discussion at later dates. So just as a process point here, like however we vote, we have to take a vote on my amendment before we take a vote on the proposal. And even if it gets voted up here, it's not like the end all and be all. It's going to get significantly more substantive discussion at later meetings, right? So we just have to figure out what we're doing and have some faith and trust in the process that we'll be able to deliberate more over these things. That is a separate question from the details of the amendment, but that's how I think we should see this process in general. Thank you.
Commissioner Layton.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Layton here. I'm against this motion and urge the commission to do so. We are a deliberative body and we have to make decisions. And I fear a cycle where we will start delaying amendment, even down to the amendment process. As Vice Chair Lance laid out, we've got to start moving. We got a lot of work to do. Commissioner Rydell Kelly outlined this is not the final vote on anything today. This just puts it into the hopper for a more substance effort. I do appreciate my colleague, Commissioner Lakens, from sending me the photo of the
I took a
proposal.
picture.
Appreciate it. Thank you, technology. But we are going to have to come up with debate and comments on the fly, and that is part of our process. If we feel it's substance, I maybe encourage the chair to open public comment on a certain item when it comes, but amendments usually aren't that. And I encourage us to continue our discussion, make a decision as we were elected to do, up and down, and move forward. Thank you.
Vice Chair Lance.
So I'm speaking to the motion, which is to delay, and I am against that for a couple of reasons. One is consistent with what Commissioner Layton just said. We need to move this along, and we really can't spend this amount of time on each and everything or we'll never get finished. Not that each and everything isn't important, please don't take it as that. And the second thing is, I think that a substantive amendment, while it was brought on paper to aid the body, it can also be read into the record. And I would encourage Commissioner Rydell Kelly to do that if this motion is defeated. So I'm going to be voting no on the motion to delay.
Commissioner O'Leary.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Leary, District 1. I don't see this as a delay. I see this as a respectful element of the process. And for this to be changed and a few of the commissioners to have seen it and the rest of the body not see it, together with the general public, does not give proper notice. And I think this is absolutely out of protocol. And whether it takes longer or not, this is not about the duration that we're speaking here. This is about the individual elements. And I hear conversations about this is just going to, it's just to put it in the hopper. Well, maybe with the discussion, it may not go to the hopper. So I think we are circumventing the process. And this is an absolute thing that I have great concern about as it relates to transparency for the body itself and also for the general public.
Commissioner Boyd.
I am worried, and I'm just going to say that out loud, Commissioner Boyd, District 6, about postponing our conversations. I do believe that this is going to continue to be part of the conversation. We are going to make it public. We are going to let our public see it. And we need to move our motions forward if we're going to be respectful of that timeline we looked at earlier. I'm worried if we do this every single time. We know that you were going to go back, get some feedback, take that feedback, and then use it to make the changes that you wanted to make. And that is here for us to read right now. And we will talk about it again. What is the hopper? Can somebody tell me exactly what the hopper is so that our constituents that are listening can know what that is?
Thank you. So for point of clarification around the hopper, our plan is to take any proposals that have passed the second reading and put them into maybe a bucket is a different way of talking about it, but holding them until we have moved through the entire charter, and then to look at all of those proposals again with public comment in order to be able to make any additional amendments or changes before we then do a final vote to move those forward to the ballot. So this is definitely not the last, any second reading would not be the last time we would be even potentially amending a proposal.
That's the important part. So everyone will be able to see it, make comment on it at our public comment if they want to. And we will be able to bring our comments after we've had some time to really digest it as well. But if we're going to do this, I'm going to make a suggestion. And that is, if the person themselves, based on our conversation in reading number 1, right, wants to make those changes, and they need the time to do that. To do that and to do it well and to feel confident about what they're sharing. And so that to me means, yes, we just got it tonight. And yes, we're going to share it with the public. And yes, we're going to have more conversation about it before it goes to the hopper. Is that what I'm understanding?
It would go to the hopper, but we would be talking about it again before it moved on to
being an amendment.
If we decided to move it forward.
And so then people can make their comments about it on that second conversation, right? Okay. I'm just going to end with what I started with. I'm worried if we're going to give every single one of these amendments the time that they need for our consideration, and to make it through that timeline that you shared earlier.
I don't see any other additional discussion. So the motion that we have on the table right now is to move the proposals of our to move the proposed second reading to next meeting. All in favor of moving the proposal second reading to the next meeting, please say aye. Aye. Please, all in opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
All abstained. To my ears, it sounds like that motion.
Call for a hand vote, please.
Okay, all right, so all in favor, please raise your hand.
Talk about it now.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All opposed, please raise your hand.
We'll talk about it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the motion failed. Oh, sorry, all abstained.
No.
Okay.
I'll vote to not.
So one more nay. Okay. So 13, the motion fails. On to just our discussion around the proposal. Oh, you proposed an amendment. Okay.
Needs to make a motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a second to Commissioner Kelly's proposal. So
read it into the record.
There's been a request to read the proposal into the record. Would you be willing to do that, Commissioner Kelly?
I am willing to do it. Do you want me to read the entirety of the amendment or the 2 modified portions of the amendment? Sorry, of the proposal.
I think the 2 modified portions of the proposal.
And so this is revision to the proposal, but in the language of what will appear in the final revised amendment version. So 1.22 shall be the policy of the county to enhance intergovernmental cooperation to the fullest extent permitted by law, particularly when supporting vulnerable residents and communities. 1.23, intergovernmental cooperation shall not include the use of county resources such as funds, personnel, facilities, equipment, or data to assist in enforcement of laws that are the sole responsibility of the federal government, including but not limited to immigration and naturalization. And then what was part 3 becomes part 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Randall Kelly. All right, so on to discussion of the amendment to the proposal. Commissioner Roby.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple questions. We can't do another amendment, correct? But we can make recommendations.
So
or we could make with regards to the amendment.
So I believe that we could make an amendment to a specific part of the amendment, but that would be the last time that we could make an amendment to that particular portion.
You can amend an amendment, sorry.
Yes, we can amend an amendment, okay. Thank you for that clarification. I have a concern with we just had this discussion with regards to adding "and communities." And also the term vulnerable. Not sure what that includes, who it includes, who's considered vulnerable. So those two terms to me are ambiguous, and I don't know that we could support, that I would be able to support that because again, limited resources. And then I'm thinking also about number 3, the verbiage when I read it, and I'm just reading it for the first time. It seems like it's been changed a little bit, but the way it says shall not include the use of county resources such as funds, personnel, facilities, equipment, or data to assist in the enforcement of laws that are the sole responsibility of the federal government. That is a broad statement, and there is a lot of intergovernmental cooperation in all different kinds of ways. And I'm thinking in terms of potentially wildfires, potentially serial killer, potentially emergency management. So this sounds to me like we can't help the federal government at all. And that is very concerning to me. And it says, because it says including but not limited to immigration and naturalization. And I also am not sure the implications of that with regards to if someone who is undocumented, not here legally, if they commit a crime, I don't know the law, so I don't know, can we arrest them, put them in jail? Do they get a pass? I don't know, but I'm really concerned about the vagueness of this language and the stonewalling of other resources, the potential stonewalling of other resources that we need.
Vice Chair Lentz. I'd like to make an amendment to the amendment. So I would propose to strike section 3 entirely and replace it with this sentence. The county shall not engage in civil immigration enforcement, assist in the enforcement of federal civil immigration law, or act on behalf of federal immigration authorities, except as otherwise required by law, period.
Second.
Yeah.
All right, so we have an amendment to strike section 3 and replace it with what Vice Chair Lentz just read.
Can you repeat?
Can you please repeat that, Vice Chair Lentz? To strike section 3 and replace it with the county shall not engage in civil immigration enforcement, assist in the enforcement of federal civil immigration law, or act on behalf of federal immigration authorities, except as otherwise required by law. All right, so now we have discussion on that amendment. I saw Commissioner Hannick and then Commissioner Fletcher.
Commissioner Hannick, District 1. In addressing what your amendment, Commissioner Hass's amendment addresses is the potential use of law enforcement resources, making it a simpler statement than what was there previously. That with the Keep Washington Working Act, that brought in a set of laws which include RCW 43.17.425. And that actually says everything that the original number 3 did say, plus more. And so it is already state law that we cannot provide resources. No state agency, law enforcement may use agency funds, facilities, property, equipment, and personnel to investigate, enforce, cooperate with, or assist in investigation or enforcement of any federal registration or surveillance court programs or other states. It goes on, but this is all concerning immigration and citizen status. So I think we already have it in state law that is this redundant to keep saying it. And if we are to use this, perhaps, and I don't want to amend an amendment, but we could also just cite the RCW at this point, because that is inclusive, I think, of the spirit of everything that you are considering at this point.
Commissioner Fletcher?
Commissioner Fletcher, District 5, Commissioner Hannick stole my comment.
You might add.
Commissioner Rydell Kelly?
I would just note that while we are supposed to be speaking to the amendment now, not in the general sense, just for Commissioner Hannick and others, and if we're talking about it in the general sense, I want to remind everybody that I had a conversation with our legal team a few weeks ago in which we established that it's totally reasonable and within bounds of the charter for the charter to affirm these types of things, even though they are also passed by state law. And that what the recommendation from the legal team was that we should actually purposely treat it in a general sense and not get into extreme minutiae, but with that we could also be additive around things where there's not as much clarity. So one of the things that was my primary rationale then was that many counties and many state agencies around the country, including in Washington, have, whether purposefully or not, gotten around things like sanctuary status and the Keep Washington Working Act through things like data sharing agreements. I think some of those things were not intentional, but this type of stuff is happening in county governments all the time, and including has happened in a little bit in Pierce County. So I think reaffirming this type of stuff and crucially putting it in our foundational governing document is reasonable. And I apologize because now I'm doing what I said I didn't want other people to do. Not on purpose.
Commissioner O'Leary.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Leary, District 1. So doing my research on this, you know, I thought this was well intended, and as I started doing research as it related to the state, as was mentioned earlier, but then specifically to Pierce County, I found that Pierce County has many commissions, and a great deal of them focus on our most vulnerable community. And those commissions, they have the responsibility to advise council and the exec. So they advise the two branches that are commissioned with setting policy. And one of those is the Refugee and Immigrant Affairs Commission. So it specifically is there to advise both the legislative and executive branch and give annual reports on recommendations for this exact kind of thing that we're talking about some of our most challenged members of our community. And then I went a little bit further and saw that Executive Mello in March of 2025 put a letter, an executive directive, to all the executive departments that they need to follow the Keep Washington Working Act, and talked about what they needed to do in the exec departments. Then in April, the end of April 2025, I found a resolution number 2025-139S. And this resolution references that document together with two separate paragraphs that virtually says the exact same thing that was in the previous amendment that Rydell Kelly proposed. And there's two sections in here. I can either share my screen or read it aloud. But
so Commissioner O'Leary, is this still about the amendment?
it's about, yes, it's about the amendment.
The
because
amendment to the amendment.
Yes, it is. Yes, because it speaks to what Commissioner Lance is proposing. And I think it spills over into the entire principle of this. Basically, this exists in resolution and executive directives today. What's being discussed. And Section 3 of the resolution I referenced says Pierce County shall not, or pardon me, Pierce County shall take all necessary actions to comply with Keep Washington Working Act and uphold its purpose of maintaining a just and inclusive community, ensuring that all residents can fully participate in economic and civic life without undue fear or discrimination. Further, in Section 4, it says that consistent with the Keep Washington Working Act, it is the policy of Pierce County that no county funds, facilities, property, equipment, or personnel shall be used to investigate, enforce, cooperate with, or assist in the enforcement of federal registration or surveillance programs or any other policy that target Washington residents based solely on race, religion, immigration, or citizenship status, or national or ethnic origin. So by resolution and by executive directive, these elements already exist. So to have this in our charter is more policy oriented than we are given the authority to do. We do not have policy authority as I understand it. We are a 6-month body, and then we are gone for a decade. The policy policy privileges are in the hands of the exec and in the hands of the council. And I think they're doing a very good job. I was pleased to find this. And so I wanted to bring it to the attention of everyone because I was concerned we would spend a lot of time on duplicative governmental procedures, which I don't think any of us are in favor of. We all want an effective government and one that is streamlined to some degree. So to have this written or to debate this now, I think is basically not in the best interest of time or resources of our body. Thank you.
Commissioner Hunter.
I just want to point out that RCWs are subject to change much more frequently than our charter is. And so I think the question that we're being asked is, do we want to make this a more permanent structure of Pierce County? And are we going to give up our governing authority in Pierce County to a state body that exists outside? Thank you.
Commissioner Rohrer.
So speaking to the amendment, I did some research on the Keep Washington Working Act, which is Senate Bill 5497 from 2019. And in that research, it talks about how Washington is considered a sanctuary state, largely due to this act. And so the Keep Washington Working Act prohibits state and local law enforcement from asking about immigration status, detaining people based on civil immigration warrants, or using resources for any federal immigration enforcement. It also provides protection of services. It says Washington law prevents state and local agencies from denying services or benefits based on citizen status. So, and then if you go to the Attorney General's office, he does a whole breakdown, FAQs on this law. And it is very clear the position of the state of Washington that, for example, let's see here. Does the information sharing provision of the KWW, I'll just refer to the Washington Working Act as KWW. So does that information sharing provision of KWW conflict with federal law? No. What are the law enforcement agencies' obligation with respect to assisting immigration enforcement? KWW prohibits law enforcement officers from inquiring into collecting information regarding a person's immigration status and citizen status, with very few limited exceptions. And it has like maybe 22 different FAQ items. And at the end, it talks about how KWW is the law of the state, and failure to comply with the law would result in civil liabilities for agencies with cost borne to taxpayers. So I also believe it is duplicative. And so I will I'll speak to the amendment, so I'll just stop there. So,
Commissioner Rohrer.
Thank you, Commissioner, Madam Chair. When I was doing my research, I also found Pierce County Code 2025-139S. And I don't know if Jerome had mentioned if that was what he was talking about or not, but that expressly, Pierce County Council voted to adopt it. And it is the county's commitment to public safety, equity, and inclusive access to services for immigrants, refugees, and all residents. It highlights the existing legal framework for Federal Immigration and Nationality Act and Washington State's Keep Washington Working Act. So this work has been done and passed. So I just wanted to reiterate that this is duplicative. Thank you.
Vice Chair Lentz. So I just wanted to speak to the substance of the amendment, I proposed it in honoring the spirit of the original proposal, which was to clearly acknowledge that this is already covered in state law, but to state it as a value with permanence in our charter. County council policy comes and goes, county executive policy comes and goes, so it enshrines it. That said, I thought that the way that the amendment stated it just makes it very clear, and it says except as otherwise required by law. Should somehow state law change that says that you can't, you have to, then we would have to. If there's some other development with federal law that was a requirement that wasn't addressed by the state law or by this statement, that as otherwise required by law would cover that. That said, I don't disagree with the common comments that have been made that this is essentially covered by state law. It's covered already by county policy, resolution, legislation. So I'm not actually completely decided as to how I'm going to vote on this at the end of the day. I'm going to vote yes on the amendment. I'm going to vote yes on moving this proposal to the hopper because the debate has been very spirited. As to whether I'm going to vote to put it onto the ballot, I really don't know. It's going to stack up against all of the other things that land there. And I just wanted to just let the body know that that's the purpose of my amendment, and that's what I'm thinking about this. Commissioner Heatherington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Heatherington, District 2. So I would just like to, in the spirit of we haven't learned all of Robert's rules and everything yet, but whether than not that we're speaking to it being, I guess I'm at a point of order, right? Is we're not speaking, we're speaking to the amendment on the amendment, and we're just going on the duplicative piece of it. If you recall the last amendment to the amendment, we took 30 minutes to discuss, and then when we came to the actual real amendment, we didn't have nothing to discuss because we discussed it all on the amendment to the amendment. So let's keep on track here. We should have already voted on this. It's whether it's the current language here or what Commissioner Lance, which I really did like your verbiage you put together there. So I'll be voting for the amendment to the amendment. Thank you.
Commissioner Consuelo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we were in charter land 10 years ago, I would maybe say it's a different discussion. But with what we've seen in the last 2 years and what we continue to see, and especially on our local level too, I just see it trickling down from the federal down to the local level. So if those other hierarchies were not in place with how ICE enforcement is being brought forth, I would maybe agree that the duplicity of it isn't necessary. But when our own sheriff is threatening to go against Keep Washington Working, threatening to go against and side with ICE, I think it is important to draw the line where we need it to be drawn. So I don't think having this mirror what what we already have in legislation is a bad thing. It just tells us where our values lie.
Commissioner Fletcher?
Commissioner Fletcher, District 5. I appreciate the amendment to the amendment. I think it's it is an improvement. I also do appreciate how we're just kind of saying how we're going to vote. That's neat. I wouldn't vote for any of it. I think 1.2 is good to go just as is. And I would say, the Second Amendment, the Second Amendment to C2 here, it is a nice distillation of essentially what SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, has already ruled, 30 plus years ago. And so if there are concerns with, local and state laws changing or personnel changing over, with the Constitution, as we were, told earlier today by the public, it is the Supreme Court or the supreme law of the land. And I would also, note that as well. So, I would say yes, it is duplicative, and no, I will not be voting for this.
Commissioner Rohrer?
I also had some other concerns with the amendment.
So the amendment to the amendment.
And feel free to tell me if I'm wrong.
That is what we're talking
about. I am concerned about the intergovernmental relation piece and limiting that. I think it is incredibly important to have those intergovernmental relations. And I kind of did some research on what
are you talking to what Commissioner or Vice Chair Lentz?
What is that amendment to the amendment? It's regarding
it would strike the number 3 from the main amendment.
Okay.
Replace it with the county shall not engage in civil immigration enforcement, assist in the enforcement of federal civil immigration law, or act on behalf of federal immigration authorities, except as otherwise required by law.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think it applies. So intergovernmental relations, the description of it from the Center of Study of Federalism talks about it is complex and evolving interactions, negotiations, cooperative and competitive efforts between levels of government, federal, state, and local within a political system. It covers the entire range of activities, including funding, policy implementation, administrative coordination, and often characterized as a marble cake of shared responsibility. Part of not sharing information concerns me when we're working on, when there might be a disaster or something urgent or emergent in our communities, is sharing information between jurisdictions saves lives. So I'm concerned about limiting information broadly. We still need to stay within the scope of keep
Washington working.
Washington working. And there are just unintended consequences of not working together. There will be. And this is a document that we're making today that needs to last for 5 years. And sometimes I hear from some of the arguments that people are very upset with a person or someone who is an elected leader, whether that's federal or inter-county. And this is not a personal issue. I think we have to keep it very broad-based so that it is a document that has a lasting foundation. So I think if we don't share information, we're going to start risking public safety in our communities.
Commissioner Layton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I probably could have called about 10 point of orders by folks not being germane to the topic. Amendment to the amendment. It is talking about what Commissioner Lance has proposed, not the underlying purpose of the total amendment that Rydell Kelly has proposed. So I think Commissioner Hetherington is right. We will be here for hours if we continue to debate the debates, and I hope that the leadership of this commission can get folks to stay germane to the topic at hand. We are speaking to the amendment that Commissioner Lance has proposed, and then we will go back to debating the amendment itself as amended or not. So I'll be voting for Commissioner Lance's amendment. It clarifies the situation, it cleans it up a little bit, and I think it is a little bit more direct to the point here, and to the overall vote. We'll see how that goes from there, but that's not the point of this amendment to the amendment. Sorry if I'm sounding a little grouchy, but it's getting close to 12:30 a.m. here where I'm at, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Layton. All right, Commissioner Rydell Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Layton, for those valuable insights. While I very much appreciate the intent and the clarity, and it's very well written, especially for on the fly amendment to the amendment, I will be voting no on it. I think that, to my point earlier, that a lot of what's happening is changing in real time and really problematic, and at the level of the federal government, it goes beyond just immigration naturalization enforcement, and is spilling over into a lot of adjacent areas of the federal government. And I really appreciated some of Commissioner Ginn's insights to that and her responses to my original proposal. So I will be voting against Commissioner Lance's really great amendment to the amendment, and hopeful, well, then we'll keep talking about the amendment after that. So thanks.
Commissioner Strickland.
Hi, yeah, I would, one thing that I think the amendment to the amendment is missing is stronger wording around data, because I do not like the data part with flock cameras and all the other types of things and the way that people are being spied on in this area. And I think that that's not okay. So I think that I liked the data piece and also the fiscal responsibility piece, where we have a federal government entity that's being funded at an extreme level and we only have limited county funds. So I will also be voting no, so that we can further talk about the original proposal.
Thank you. Commissioner Layton, I see you got your hand up. I don't know if it's again.
Sorry, I didn't lower it.
No worries. All right, so I see no further discussion on the amendment to the amendment. So I'm going to ask for a vote on the amendment to strike section 3, and then I'm going to have Vice Chair Lance read the rest.
Strike section 3, replace with the county shall not engage in civil immigration enforcement, assist in the enforcement of federal civil immigration law, or act on behalf of federal immigration authorities except as otherwise required by law.
All in favor, please raise your hand. So 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10. Did I count that right? I believe so. Yes. So sorry, can we all do one more time? So 1 online, 2, 3, 10. We have 11 votes in favor. All opposed, please raise your hand. 6 oppose and all abstain. We have 1, 2, 3. Oh, online, thank you. All right, so that, I can't even remember my math. I believe and that means that the amendment stands. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the amendment stands, and now we go back to the original amendment that Commissioner Rydell Kelly has proposed as amended. Got it. All right, any discussion as on that original amendment, proposed amendment as amended? Seeing none, I would like, oh, Commissioner Gann, your pressure. Okay, Commissioner Hannick.
The original one, the part 2, where it's supporting vulnerable residents and communities. I wonder if this sets a priority so that we do vulnerable and I guess anyone is defining, who is a vulnerable resident. Is a senior citizen a vulnerable resident? This just being a minority, so I'm just trying to get a little bit more specifics on that, because the next thing is that there has to be a balance between prioritizing public safety versus, supporting housing for a senior citizen. Does this create a priority of some kind? And I would rather leave that in the hands of our council and not tie them through a charter that they must look at these things. In 10 years, times are going to change and things could be different on what our needs are. So I just don't want to tie the hands of our council.
Commissioner Gann. Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Gann. I think that who is vulnerable might change, and that can be further decided, but the purpose of government supporting our most vulnerable community members doesn't, in my mind, doesn't change. It's the whole point of local government. I was interested in proposing an amendment to the amendment on number 3, but maybe we'll save that for if it's made through to the hopper. Thank you. Commissioner Rohrer.
I was wondering, maybe some better language might be providing a safety net for community members. That's I don't know. Kind of working off of that, but we can kind of develop that. But a safety net that takes care of everyone.
Commissioner Roby.
Thank you. Commissioner Roby here speaking with regards to vulnerable residents and communities. Again, I would like to emphasize that communities is potentially not legally defined. I think we are going to look up community members, but residents perhaps, but vulnerable being so open-ended, and this doesn't. We have a lot of responsibilities as a county government to provide parks, to provide safety, to provide roads, to provide safe bridges. So I think that we are tying the hands of future legislators by putting this in here, whereas if we just left it as it was, where it says enhance in every way possible intergovernmental cooperation, that is where we get our most efficient, effective government, where we can work with other government agencies, the cities can work with the counties, and we can create great park spaces, because that too helps our community be strong, be better, be well. There's all kinds of research about how natural space provides that for for everyone in our community. It's a healthier community when we have parks and trees. So I guess I will not be voting yes on this proposal, as everyone has been confessing that they're gonna vote. But that's my 2 cents, thanks.
Commissioner Lincoln.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Likens. I appreciate the work that's gone into this amendment. I think I'm very appreciative of Commissioner Rydell Kelly's emphasis on intergovernmental regulations. And I believe some of the things that have been brought up, talking about codified and providing services, we're talking about intergovernmental relations here. We're not talking about code. We're not talking about county council ordinances or policies. We're talking about governments working across with each other. And I think this is a particularly heightened sense because of some of the things that are occurring across our communities and in our nation, that people are thinking about what does it mean to have an intergovernmental relationship. And I think we need to come back to that core and remember what section we're at. I think, there are all great ideas and great compassion that I'm hearing out of this room, but this is just in regards to intergovernmental relations. And I'm happy to support it, at least to go into the hopper, and then we can, we'll be going through even more analysis at that point. Thank you.
Commissioner Strickland.
Yeah, since communities members keeps coming up and it's listed here in this particular amendment, I would like to speak to that. If you work on any job, regardless of the status of that job or the type of job, and you have to comply with anything or do anything in this Pierce County area, and you maybe live in King County or Thurston, and the ICE people or whatever we're going to call them come to grab you from a job site and obstruct every single thing that you're doing, but the company, there's ripple effects to those things. I think that you should actually commit a crime before you get arrested in this country. Crazy, but.
Commissioner Leary.
Thank you. Again, I'm referring back to the existing resolution that I referenced, R2025-139S. And if we vote on the proposed amendment, paragraph 2 has conflicting language with paragraph 3 in the resolution. So this is a question. What happens when there's conflicting language between the resolution that has been put in place by our council and the language in the charter? How is that administered? And are we creating, again, somebody said, I think we're creating a problem for our legislators, and I tend to agree. We could be trying to do a good thing here, but we're putting something in the charter, a 10-year document, that is in direct conflict potentially with the language that exists in the resolution that's already been put in place, together with the executive directive that was given by our current executor. So to me, this creates a lot of confusion. And so I pose that question. Thank you.
Commissioner Hurd.
Thank you. I guess I needed a little clarity too as well. In number 2 here, back to supporting vulnerable residents and communities. I have not yet really heard children, seniors, veterans. Does that include them?
They would be community members.
And so, yeah, that's a point of clarity that I would question. And also, speaking about like government agencies that were, my understanding is we're not going to work with them. Does that include, DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals, the IRS, tribal police departments, does that include all of them? Because those are government agencies as well. I believe, and marshals for that matter, Border Patrol, all of those entities go to government, through government training at one point or another. So I'm just wondering if all that includes those entities. Because if they don't, I kind of, I think that should be clarified, or if it does as well. So let's see. I think that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Gann. Yes, Commissioner Gann, I want to make sure people are aware that resolutions do not hold the weight of law. They're formal statements that the council makes to be on public record, but they're not law, whereas what was put in the charter is law. So whatever charter amendments are voted on and passed by the voters that change the charter, the county then has to adjust what they're doing to be in compliance with the county charter. And I also wanted to respond that I don't read this as we're not going to work with anyone. I read it as in working with them, as we're going to, we're not going to include utilizing county resources for enforcing laws that are the sole responsibility of the federal government. That's it. That's to me how I read it.
Commissioner Layton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Layton here. Just want to echo Commissioner Ginn's comments. When we talk about resolutions or executive orders, those can be overturned by another government, another council, another executive. Those are not permanent. So the charter supersedes anything that is done at the council level or the executive level. So there is no confusion. If this were to go forward and be voted, that is the law for Pierce County, and everybody else must follow, as Commissioner Ginn had pointed out. I'll be voting for this to move it to the hopper. Whether I'll vote for final amendment, we'll see. I think we need to be very thoughtful about how many amendments we put up and what that looks like. But I'm ready to move forward, and let's vote on this as we approach 1 a.m. here.
Commissioner, I don't know if you had your tag up, but is it down now? Or did you? Okay.
Commissioner Ginn took my comment.
Okay. Efficiency, I love it. Commissioner Randall Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Layton. There's some complexities going on here and some kind of contradictory stuff. We can't have it both ways, where we're saying we want to take out language and make this as simple as possible. And then we're also saying we want to enumerate the many populations that would be considered vulnerable. We should take in good faith that we're all trying to serve the people of our community in the best way we can. And like mincing words and going back and forth on, you can't throw in a bunch of words described here, but you have to take them out here, or you have to have them here, to me is not helpful or productive. We're trying to get to the intent of what we're trying to achieve in the governing document of our county. To Commissioner Layton's point, a number of us were in the room when R135S was passed. And you know who else was in the room? The sheriff, Keith Swain, speaking adamantly opposed to it. And he turned out a whole lot of people that were adamantly opposed to it. And he made the point there that he was not going to honor or reflect it or respect it. And he said in that room that this is just a resolution. That's the point. That's what we're trying to get at here, is that we are trying to say we are leading with our values and we are enshrining them in our governing document. And that's why I encourage people to vote this up. Let's put it in the hopper and let's get to moving on to a lot of other substantive conversation, because there's a lot of other substantive conversation to have. Thank you.
I do, unless Commissioner Willis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, snuck it up there, blessing. I had quite a bit of notes, so I'll try to make it brief once my voice gives out first here. I just wanted to make a point of reference to the National Civic League's Guide for Charter Commissions and how it emphasizes the charter should remain flexible frameworks. This includes specific policy mandates in charter, which would hamstring elected officials, preventing them from adapting to changing circumstances, federal laws, or emergencies without a full vote of the people to amend the charter again. I'd like to default back to my last testimony, which discussed the 3-test standard for the charter appropriateness. And it's, at least in my understanding, that to determine if a proposed amendment does belong to the charter, commissioners should apply the following 3 tests of appropriateness. If a proposal fails the 3 tests, then it's likely a policy matter that should be handled via ordinance or policy through the administration, the executive administration, excuse me. The legislative test clearly defines, can this objective be achieved by passing a county ordinance? And then if yes, provisions should generally be excluded from the charter to preserve legislative flexibility. Number 2 is the administrative test. If this can be addressed through executive administrative policy, and if yes, it's an operational matter for the county executive, not a constitutional mandate. And third and final, if the structural test, does this require a fundamental change to the structure of government or the distribution of powers? And if not, it's likely policy and not framework. And then I'd like to say that while the proposal seeks to codify the specific intergovernmental policies regarding immigration enforcement and social services, based on established legal principles of home rule charters and the 3-test standard, this amendment constitutes impermissible policy scope creep. It attempts to embed operational legislative decisions where appropriately domain the county ordinances into the constitutional framework of the county. And I would lastly like to say that to the good commissioners in the room, I am sympathetic to these concerns. I don't want you to think that I'm not. They should be addressed through the legislative process, through the ordinances, administrative policy, such the other 3 tests. Not amending the county's constitutional framework, thus providing, is this a question of policy or framework? Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hannick, who I believe, you've got the front.
I would like to table the discussion before Justin falls asleep. And which would mean that
Good, let's vote.
We have some things to say and make this, put it on the agenda item for next week, especially as we approach 10 o'clock.
So just to my parliamentarian, do we need a motion to table?
Technically, I think you're asking for a continuance. To table it usually is to take a break and pick it up at the end of the meeting, which you're already.
Oh, end of the meeting. I was thinking of continuance to the next meeting is.
So that would require.
And I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to
next meeting.
To continue the discussion to next meeting. I have a second discussion. Oh, it's not debatable. So all in favor of continuing our discussion to our next meeting on March 2nd, please raise your hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 online, so that's, and then abstained. Seeing none, then that motion fails. So on to discussion. So that brings us back to Commissioner Fletcher, if you still have.
No.
Then Commissioner Heatherington.
I'll make a motion to end debate.
Second.
Okay, we have motion to end debate, which has been seconded. We'll do a hand raise. All in favor of ending debate, we need 2/3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 online. All opposed. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then all abstained. 1, 2, 3. All right, so it passed. All right, so that ends our debate, which means we will take a vote on the proposal amendment as amended. All right, all in favor, please raise your hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, including the online. All opposed, please raise your hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 online, and all abstained. Seeing none, that passes. So that means we will put this amended. Yes,
Clarification, I mean,
please.
that adds up to 19 and we have 21 here, so I think we need to make sure that everybody's on the record, either abstaining or yay or nay.
Okay, thank you. So can we please raise our hand again for all in favor of the amendment as, or the proposal, the amendment to the proposal as amended. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, so 12 online, so all opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9 online, and then abstained. That's 21. Okay, so thank you for that clarification. So now this amendment or proposal, so many words. It's gonna move on to the hopper. It'll be there. Thank you all for engaging in that process. I know it's been a long one. Commissioner Likens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you please send this out to the commission with the amended language?
Absolutely, I would be
Thank
so
you.
happy to do that. And I probably mean Vice Chair Lentz. Or our clerk. Or our clerk. Someone will get it out to you all. Okay, so on to next meeting topics. We will, Commissioner O'Leary.
Thank you very much. Please make sure that the amended language is on the whatever you send out, and make sure it's available to the public.
Absolutely, yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so on to next meeting topics. We will have Councilmember Morrell here to talk with us next meeting, as well as a presentation on from Commissioner Wright O'Kelly. Do you want to say anything about who those folks are, just so people know?
Sure. Commissioner Wright O'Kelly, District 4. I have invited 2 authors, professors of political science, who have written a book called The Power of the Badge on the history of the sheriff as an elected office. Professors Muriel Holman and Emily Ferris, I believe are their names. And they have graciously agreed to come speak. They're going to present their research and their work, and then do questions with commissioners.
All right, so I saw Commissioner Rohrer.
Commissioner Rohrer, I did reach out to former Sheriff Paul Pastor. He is excited to come here and give a presentation. So I will be reaching out and asking him for future dates.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, that is it for next meeting topics. Anything for good of the order, anyone? All right, then we're on to adjournment. All of
Second.
got a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All abstain, and we're done, everyone.